heals all wounds. But what if time's locked in a cell with you? What if the wound is time? He walks with a limp from the weight of the past. Shadows in his mind, got a blade in the stash. Tatted arms like chapters, scars like scripture. Every street lamp flicker feel like a missed picture. Never cried once, he was raised in the gutter. Mama OD'd and he never knew a brother. Life didn't give him lemons, it gave him rage. Now he's out on parole, still stuck in that cage. Thoughts like thunder, he don't pray, he plots. Eyes like a war zone, voice full of knots. Whispers turn venom, silence turns loud. He ain't looking for peace, he's looking for a crowd. How does one go on without the time? How do you fight fate when you walk the line? Venom in his tongue, fire in his chest. He ain't sleeping, he's dreaming of death. Life never ends when you're doing life. Chains on the soul, but his knuckles still fight. No love, no God, just blood and a curse. He was never understood without the slurs. He spits like a serpent, words coil tight. Truth wrapped in venom, born of the night. He ain't scared of a man, only scared of the mirror. Cause what's looking back just keeps getting clearer. Used to dream of love, now he fiends for a war. Can't fill a broken soul with a liquor store. Takes pride in the pain and the havoc he brings. To the weak he's a lesson, to the lost he's a king. He don't trust nobody that ain't been through flames. If you ain't bled in the dark, don't speak his name. He ain't angry, he's history with a face. A ghost with a grudge and a hunger for grace. How does one go on without the time? How do you fight fate when you walk the line? Venom in his tongue, fire in his chest. He ain't sleeping, he's dreaming of death. Life never ends when you're doing life. Chains on his soul, but his knuckles still fight. No love, no God, just blood and a curse. He was never understood without the slurs. They wrote him off with labels. A freak, a felon, unstable. But monsters ain't born, they're built in cages, in silence and guilt. He walks alone where the angels won't go, with a heart full of nails and a mind full of woe. What they called madness was just his cry, but they never saw tears in the devil's eye. Now he breathes behind bars with a pen and a fight. Life never ends when you're doing life.
All right, all right, all right. Can y'all hear me all right? My name is 12 Gauge, and this is my channel, 12 Gauge Investigative. And tonight I have a special guest. I'll let him introduce himself.
My name is Slim Shady. This Jeff H coming at you.
All right, cool, man. We just were backstage on Discord jamming, man. So lost track of the time. Jeff was teaching me some stuff, and hopefully eventually I'll be able to get on here and play like Jeff does, you know.
I'm gonna make a rock star out of you.
Man,
it's only a matter of time.
That'll be something, man. That'll be something. I had to dust off the guitar, man. I had to go dust it off because I haven't played it in a while.
That's a good sign that you haven't touched it enough.
Yeah, it's like I guess it's like a woman, man. You gotta take care of her. You know what I'm saying?
You gotta dust your woman.
You gotta dust your woman off, right? Well, tonight I wanted to show the 600 and something picks. But before I do that, I mean, because I know there's people that still haven't seen them, even though there's been a lot of creators that have gone over them. I want to show them, and if she's dusty, for sure, dust her off. There's people that haven't seen these photos, but also want to show a video about what a life sentence actually does to a person. So I brought Jeff up here to kind of have a little camaraderie from old times, you know what I mean? So let me go ahead and play this one. Hey Jeff, I can hear your distortion a little bit.
Yeah, let me turn that off. There you go.
All right. This is Let me put it where we're both up here. I guess that'll work. All right. This old man represents somebody that's doing life that obviously wasted his life when he was a young man. The infographic show put this together. I wish I could put something this informative up maybe one day. Well, here we go. Let's see what they got to say.
40 years in prison doesn't just change you, it rewires you. The system is designed to wear you down, to break you. By the time you get out, everything you knew is gone. How do people survive that and not lose themselves completely? On today's episode of the Infographic Show, we're walking through what a life sentence in prison is actually like. Day 1, you shuffle off the bus in handcuffs and leg irons, peering up at the guard towers and razor wire fencing. Armed officers herd you forward, their eyes cold. To them, you are nothing. And this is it, your home for the next 4 decades. You enter a holding room where an officer takes off your leg irons and gestures toward a thick door, the booking area. They take your wedding band and slip your phone and wallet into a Ziploc bag. $200 goes into your prisoner trust account and another $100 into your telephone account. In another room, you're told to strip. A guard smirks when they notice the tattoo of your son's name inked across your chest. Your son, just 4 years old.
Wow, that's pretty ruthless, man. Cute kid. Too bad he won't recognize you if you ever get out. Wow, isn't that something, Jeff? So we know somebody that went into the system quite recently. Do you know who that person was, Jeff?
Did he have eyebrows?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he had eyebrows. Okay, that's
yeah. He had bushy eyebrows. So I'm sure he had to go through all this stuff right here. Um, and here we go.
Will grow up without a father. And your wife, who swore she would wait, will have gray hair and wrinkles the next time you hold her, if you ever hold her again. The truth is, you've already accepted she'll move on, but the very thought of that right now is unbearable. Then comes the strip search. The whole process is totally dehumanizing. You've never thought of yourself as a bad person. It was self-defense, but that didn't wash with a jury of 12 men and women. The judge called it a callous disregard for human life, a deliberate act of calculated cruelty. If you had to defend yourself again, you would. And in this prison, it'll become a reality. But fighting isn't what frightens you. It's spending the next 40 years in small claustrophobic rooms as the property of the United States government. Just another body the officers will process today. You're handed your prison-issue slip-on shoes, gray jogging pants, and a sweater bearing the initials DOC, Department of Corrections. They fingerprint you and they take your photo. You're now a number, 12515-066. One of 1.8 million Americans behind bars. One of 600,000 people sent.
And that is something else, Jeff. Instead of having a name anymore, you're just a number.
yep.
Wouldn't that be terrible, bro?
It would be. It would be. It's kind of
That
hard
would be
to, I mean, there's something you don't think about, like the importance of your name, just the sound of your name. I've often wondered if sometimes like the sound of a person's name can affect how they turn out.
right.
I used to work for a guy named Harold, and back in when he was younger, there was a cartoon where the main character of the cartoon was called Old Weird Harold, and so I think he got picked on, and kids made fun of his name, and so name can do a lot. A name means a lot.
Of course it does. Well, think about the name Damien. If y'all in the chat have anybody that is a kid that his middle name Damien or his first name Damien, I have never encountered a Damien that was not in trouble.
Hmm.
And I mean, I've encountered quite a few. I'm sure there's some, but that's just, I would believe, setting yourself up and your child for a long life of dysfunction, wouldn't you think?
And if you have a little girl, name her Karen. That's a popular name lately.
Karen, huh?
Yeah, Karen's a good name.
Don't be a Karen, right? Let's see what this old gentleman has going on here. See the young man going in right here. He's given his number.
To prison each year, and one of the 1 in 6 who will never leave, serving a life sentence. Orientation blurs past. The officers talk about violence, about reporting abuse, but all you can think about is your wife and child at home. Later, a nurse performs the health checkup. She asks about your drug history and whether you're a danger to yourself. You mutter no, and you shake your head. She scribbles a note in your file, and you are out the door. You're moved into another nameless, colorless room. Have you ever worked for law enforcement? A guy in a shirt and tie asks you. No, you haven't, and you've never testified against anyone, so there's no reason you can't do your time in the general population. None of this feels real. Your state-appointed lawyer had been sure you would just get a few years for manslaughter, or better.
Yeah, I'm standing up here in front of God and everyone and proclaiming that my client is innocent. And I don't touch his shoulder. Right, Jeff?
It'd be viewed as a justifiable homicide. You were one of the 80 to 90% of federal criminal defendants in the U.S. defended by the state, a nation where with enough money, the odds aren't too bad for getting away with serious felonies. The thought makes you furious. Your emotions swing wildly, from rage to despair. You just saw a female and a male officer laughing and joking with each other, casual workplace flirting. You'll never share a moment like that again. And then you walk through the bowels of the prison, door after door creaking open until the faint sound of voices grows louder, the smell of floor cleaner and sweat filling your nostrils. The last door opens to your unit. Faces look up from the tables where men are slamming down dominoes and cards. You keep your head high. You don't show them any weakness. White, black, brown, all in their own tight clique. Like it or not, this is your new family. Fish! Someone shouts from behind you. It reminds you of your school, but with grown men, dangerous men. You're not interested in what any of them has done or the prison hierarchy.
Isn't that what we heard? They were screaming at Koberger. They were calling him Fish.
Was it?
Yeah. That's
Huh.
that's the name that they were screaming through the vents. We're
Oh,
gonna
wow.
get you, Fish. We're gonna get you. Fish.
So what does fish mean? I mean, that's what you call the new guy?
Yeah, fish. Fish out of water.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, fish out of water.
They belong to. You don't want to be a part of their system, their code. You're not scared of them. The only thing that scares you now is time. You walk into your cell. Your cellie barely looks up, jerking his head to the top bunk. You toss your prison handbook on a steel desk, barely a foot away from a toilet sink combo that smells like it was freshly used. You still expect to wake up with your wife beside you, telling you it was all just a bad dream. Month 1. Before you were locked up, you'd watched prison TV shows, like millions of others. You dismissed them as poverty porn, cheap exploitation of damaged lives, but you still watched. Your guilty pleasure was seeing grown men fight over a missing piece of candy. But you never thought you would be one of them. In here, you know your place, and it's decided by skin color and affiliation. Since you have no affiliation, unless you count CrossFit, Catholicism, or the Pee Wee soccer team you coached, you're lumped in with the whites. This was explained to you when a group of thugs walked into your cell a day after you'd arrived. They wanted to see your papers, your charges, checking to see if you were a chomo or some other kind of sex offender. You used to
Chomo is a slang for child molester.
Hmm.
Child molesters. They call them chomos.
think that the prison code, when you heard about it on TV, was insane and hypocritical. But now that you're a part of it, you keep your mouth shut. The guys looked impressed when they read your homicide conviction, and here, that's a badge of honor. You don't bother telling them the details, what your useless lawyer had called mitigating circumstances. Neither do you play the tough guy. Your cellie later tells you that tough guys don't last long in prison. Just be cool and you'll be all right, he told you. But his bid is 7 years, not 40. He explained that you are constantly monitored, that cameras watch your every move. But he said this doesn't stop the violence. Someone was stabbed in the shower stalls a week or two before you arrived. He said if someone wants you dead, they can kill you and make it look self-inflicted. The kid who carried it out was a torpedo, ordered to put work in for the Mexican mafia. They run things in this unit, taking orders from the boss, the shot caller. When there are problems, this guy will mediate it with the heads of the other races. You soon learn that if someone disrespects you, you fight back, or you'll become a victim. You have seen it with your own eyes, a fight over a stare, something your cellie called mad dogging. Another guy was beaten for farting, a sign of disrespect.
So Brian has snitched. He snitched on people. So whether he or you believe it, who's watching this right now, he's a marked man.
Think he farted on anybody too? Or?
I don't know, but I've seen that's a big sign of disrespect, especially if you do it at the table. You burp, you do any kind of you chew with your mouth open. I mean, there is very strict rules.
Hmm.
It's almost ironic. It's almost like these rules are so strict in there, but they don't follow these rules once they get out in society. It doesn't make sense.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
The unit feels like a time bomb. The fuse hasn't been lit yet. Urselli says all-out violence is rare, it disrupts business, and business means drugs. Sometimes they're smuggled in, but more often an officer will bring them in. If you cause a fight, the unit is locked down and the cells get tossed. If drugs or weapons are confiscated, you can expect a beating. And you'd better hope the shot caller is feeling generous, because an HOS or hit on sight can easily become a KOS, kill on sight. Month 6. You're adjusting to prison life, and not just learning to poop in front of another man. You've gotten drunk on prison alcohol, brewed by your wing's Pruno guy, the hooch expert, making money from hustle. Urselli said it's a pretty simple process. Just take a whole load of old fruit and mix it with bread and then add extra sugar for strength. Even ketchup and candies work. You've got to leave it to ferment, usually in a watertight bag that can be acquired from the kitchen. You pour a bit of extra warm water into it every day. The key is just finding a good hiding place. Ideally above the roofing tiles or even inside the walls. It only takes 5 to 7 days to brew, but the longer you leave it, the stronger it is. You can get it up to about 15%, even 30%, but the norm is about 10%. It's important to burp the bag or let the pressure out, otherwise you'll have an explosion on your hands. It wasn't the best thing you've ever drunk, but at $10 a cup, it'll do. You've been so depressed that even a cheap
$10 a cup, Jeff.
Oh, wow.
You burp the bag.
Man, they get creative in there.
Oh, you know it. You know it, buddy.
buzz felt like relief, but that is not the only escape available inside. You name it, you can buy it here. Heroin, cocaine, Xanax, methamphetamines, spice, even LSD and ecstasy. Nothing about prison makes sense. Guys locked up for possession are doing harder drugs inside. Others who had never touched drugs get hooked here, carrying the habit back outside. And abuse doesn't come cheap. Everything here is about 5 to 10 times the cost on the outside. A corrupt, low-paid prison officer and a gang can make some serious cash. The guys often target female staff or officers, deliberately looking for ones who have low self-esteem. You once read that some women officers admitted they liked the protection inmates gave them. It made life easier. Some, said the report, were just infatuated with the gang members. Others liked buying Percocet on the street for just $5 and getting $50 in prison. And it's more common than people think. You remember reading that in Baltimore, 75% of 650 correctional officers were women, and a witness claimed 65 to 75% of them were involved in contraband, smuggling, or relationships with inmates. Just before you came into the prison, a report out of Kentucky said 30 officers had sex with inmates in only 16 months. Meanwhile, 14 others
You would think that that wouldn't be such a big deal, or it would be a problem. But you know what? That is a huge problem. It was in the unit that I worked at. They were walking off people all the time for contraband, and the female officers having relationships with the inmates.
Hmm.
I mean, you don't have to be a beauty queen either. Like, it doesn't matter in there.
You don't. No, I won't.
smuggled in
I was gonna
drugs.
say if he,
And now you've seen it happen.
Do what?
if you know the one we're always talking about, if he had such trouble finding any on the outside, maybe that was part of the plan.
Maybe he's
Get
probably
some on the
gonna lose.
inside.
He's probably gonna lose his virginity. Finally become a man.
Yourself. In prison, you'll pay around $40 for enough tobacco for a few rolled cigarettes. Weed, about $10 a gram outside of prison, is $60 inside. Meth, popular because the high lasts a long time, is about $40 a gram outside and $130 inside. Heroin, $10 a bag outside, is $70 or more here. Just a cheap prescription Suboxone pill sells for about $80. So a corrupt officer can be paid thousands for one small package. And if you want a smartphone, a phone that has possibly been plugged, you might pay $6,000. Urselli said prisoners have used drones to fly contraband over the walls. No matter what, the business
What?
doesn't stop. If there are seizures, all it does is push
$6,000? You're bullshitting. There's no way. I'm gonna go get me some Nokia burners. Go throw them over the fence. Make me
6,000.
some
Wow.
money. Yeah, $6,000.
I don't know that I have anything that important to say that I've got to have a $6,000 phone. I just keep it to myself.
Yeah.
the prices up, making it more lucrative for anyone involved. In other words, what you've learned is that criminals remain criminals in prison. Also, prisoners usually learn a few new tricks of the trade in what some call crime school. It's no wonder that about 3/4 of these men will be back within 5 years of their release, and you'll be here waiting. Year 1. So far, you managed to stay out of trouble. It's true what they say about prison. If you keep your head down, be polite, don't let anyone take advantage of you or breach the prison code, you might manage to finish your sentence unscathed. And so far, that's true. You've not been forced to join a gang, but it is just a fact of life in here that you don't get too close to the other races. You don't eat with them, you don't spot them in the yard while they're working out, you don't borrow things from them or help them. The code demands you stay out of other people's business. Don't even ask people what they're in for. You heard a guy got a beating just for looking into someone's cell when he walked past. It's as if the code prevents real friendships from being made. If the authorities plan to divide and rule in prison, it is working. But now the friends you had outside, those guys that said they'd stick by you, they're writing less often. Your wife writes at least once a week, and she and your kid visit once every 2 weeks. It doesn't help that visits are on weekdays, and they've put you in a prison about 170 miles from your home. You always make sure that when she visits, she leaves with a smile. You've already probably spent literally hundreds of hours going through all the men you suspect have a crush on her. Besides,
And also, all those friends that are still on the outside, they're out there probably getting with your wife. They're keeping her warm on the outside.
Yep.
Yeah.
Would you do that?
That
Would you do
you
that to
did-
your buddy?
That's why they're not writing you anymore.
All right.
these are pretty much all the same. Breakfast at 6:30, then you work in the kitchen till 4 p.m. Your cellie says you were lucky to get a job in the kitchen, but 30 cents an hour doesn't feel very lucky. You only get yard time 3 times a week, but there is indoor recreation every day. Dinner starts at 6 p.m., lockdown is 9 p.m., and it's lights out at 10 p.m. Nothing changes except for anger management sessions. An hour twice a week with a young therapist fresh out of school. He wants you to talk about your emotions, and he loves to mention the boomerang effect. Don't express your feelings and they'll likely explode later in a fit of fury. Sometimes violence is necessary, you think? The therapist wouldn't understand. It's not something you can learn in university. Sure, you regret your crime, but only because of the consequences. Year 5. The officers all know your name. You've seen them come and go. The weak ones get exploited, and the tyrants are hated. The good ones are firm but fair. As for you, there's a kind of respect for guys who will be in here for a long time, as long as they stay out of the business and they haven't hurt women or kids. The prison does have some educational programs, but they're not available to everyone. And for most of the young gangbangers, education is viewed as a weakness. If you're smart, you find a hustle, and by your first year you had one. You are one of the few who can write and make sense of complicated legal texts. That's made you the jailhouse lawyer. It's against prison rules, but so are all the hustles. The officers usually turn a blind eye to it as long as nothing gets out of hand. But if there's a shakedown, any sign of your hustle, and you might get some time in the special housing unit, the SHU. In there, it's a 23-hour-a-day lockdown. Your exercise is in a miserable cage. You've been there only once, and you don't want to go again. All day, all you heard were screams and shouting. In prison, it feels like about half the guys are mentally ill. You read once that 15% have a serious mental illness like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or major depression.
Can you imagine, Jeff, being in a cage 23 hours a day and all you hear is people yelling and slinging poop on the officers and all kinds of stuff? I mean,
That's awful. Yeah, I can't imagine. Even with a guitar in there, I think I'd still like that'd be too much.
many people lose their minds.
Yeah.
That is a surefire way to lose your sanity, I believe. There's been studies about that, and just awful, man.
But it's a weird situation though because it's like, well, where's the line between punishment, rehabilitation? um, you know, or like Steve Gonsalves calls it, adult daycare.
Right.
Um,
I mean, don't get it twisted. Prison's not about rehabilitating. You can't rehabilitate somebody who wasn't rehabilitated in the free world. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
If you didn't go in with social skills, you didn't go in with, half education or whatever, you're not going to really be able to get that unless you're a long timer. Texas says, I used to take a nap in one of those. It's rough.
mm,
And the crazy ones often end up in the shoe, slamming their heads against the wall or harming themselves. Thankfully, they still allow you to read in the shoe, otherwise you might have gone crazy. The prison library isn't great, but it is a lifesaver. Well, it is if you're not one of the 60 to 75% of US prisoners who are functionally illiterate. For lifers, if you're not constantly doing gang business, there are 3 main ways to stay sane: regular exercise, meditation, and reading. Reading is one activity that you've seen in prison that actually helps people rehabilitate themselves. The selection isn't great, way too much romance fiction. Still, they have a lot of classics and some okay nonfiction. You just go to the library during yard time and you check out the books. When you were in the shoe, they came around with a cart. Your wife sends books in too, and prisoners can order from Amazon. You can't have overtly sexual books or anything that might inspire or teach violence. And yes, there's actually a banned books list. The 2023 Prison Libraries Act was supposed to address the lack of funding, but the bigger problem is censorship. If they were really serious about rehabilitation, they should be making sure prisoners have access to a wide range of educational nonfiction and literary fiction. But instead, they ban books like it's North Korea. The worst state, your wife told you, was Florida, with over 22,000 books banned. Texas came next with around 10,000, then Kansas with 7,700, Virginia with 7,200, and New York with 5,300. And that includes language books staff can't read, and drawing books that inmates might use for tattoos. Often no reason is given, just stamped threat to security. In some states, even books with homosexuality are banned. Part of you thinks that the system is not interested in rehabilitation as much as filling quotas and punishing people. You had a lot of time to think about the man you murdered. You've watched men in here brag about violence and killing, and it hit you hard. Maybe you are just as messed up as they are. You always thought you were different, that your case was special, but just about everyone here says that. But your crime only created more trauma, which you're now passing down to your son. Violence is like a vicious cycle. If prison has done anything good for you, it's the realization that crime is all about cause and effect, and that even in bad circumstances, a civilized man can choose to end it. Still, you know you did wrong, and it won't help you get through another 30 years. Year 10. About 3 years ago, your wife started writing less often. She canceled visits, one after the other. Your son, who's now 14, started getting into trouble, and your wife said it was your fault. Now, he barely visits you, and when he does, he looks bored and resentful. And then you got the letter. She'd met another guy. She loved you, she said. She tried, but she couldn't live the best years of her life alone. In a way, you felt some relief. Part of you wanted to respect her decision. The other part wanted his name and address. The group therapist said anger is a very natural response in these circumstances, but what does he know about spending your life in prison? You'll be sitting in the prison workshop and suddenly there will be an image in your head of your wife kissing some other guy. The pain is indescribable and there is nothing you can do to escape it. So you're in a prison, but also in a cage in your head, torturing yourself daily, and no matter what you do, those bad thoughts will come. And worse, you can't talk about it to a friend. You can't show weakness in here. And then you cracked. The therapist was right about the boomerang effect. You'd mistakenly told someone about something you enjoyed, a book you were reading. God knows why you let a feeling slip out, but you did. The novel was The Count of Monte Cristo, a story about love, revenge, justice, and morality. It really resonated with you, but then you got to the all-important final pages and someone had ripped them out. That's the kind of petty thing that happens all the time in prison. But after 10 years after being dumped, you just lost it. You snapped. Someone told you it was one of the new kids. You waited until he went to the showers and you knocked him clean out with one punch. If you hadn't done anything, you'd have been seen as weak. But the truth is, you did it because you were angry. Therapy is good on paper, but it doesn't take into account the extremes of prison life. In the shoe, an officer told you someone else had torn out the pages. You'd beaten an innocent kid for nothing, putting in work for a conniving liar. Maybe the officer was lying, so you'll beat another innocent man. This is life in the prison. Constant manipulation, constant lies, people taking pleasure in suffering. It destroys your faith in humanity. You know you can't do another 30 years.
That's only 10 years, Jeff. Look at all that mess. Hey, do you feel like you're doing 40 years right now watching this?
Man, I can't help but watch this and think. I've worked on a program where you can build like these characters and cartoons and scenarios. It's not. I don't think it's the same one I use though, because I don't recognize the. Usually, you can recognize the characters. Like, there's, you know.
This looks like a South Park kind of cartoon almost.
Yeah.
Years of this, and after that last beating, stitches, hospital trauma, you doubt the parole board will be doing you any favors. Year 20. A year later, you learned your wife's new lover was your best friend. You had lost your two best pen pals, the core of your emotional support, in one blow. And now your only visitors are your brother and your mom. But
I
your mom is
told
sick,
you.
and you carry
What
the
a
added
friend.
guilt of not being able to help her. You're sure the stress of what you did made her sick. You probably would have lost your mind if it weren't for one thing. Between years 14 and 19, you wrote a novel. It was your greatest accomplishment, besides having a son who still won't talk to you. Under the First Amendment, you technically have the right to express yourself, even in prison. But then one day during a lockdown, your cell got tossed. And when you came back, your manuscript was gone. You complained loudly, and they called you into the office, and that's when they told you the truth. Your manuscript was confiscated and burned. Why? Well, the characters might resemble prison staff. They also said your book could incite violence, that it was a threat to prison security. And that was it. You finally lost your mind. But it wasn't an explosion of violence this time. It was quiet. You just withdrew into yourself. You gave up. You realized you can't win in prison. In the end, it grinds you down. When all those years ago, you thought yourself dehumanized in that first strip search, you were very wrong. Dehumanizing a person takes time. They chip away at you until your identity is nothing but a lump of stone, stripped of all character. Year 30. It's as if you've become a ghost. No one bothers you anymore. You're just the old timer serving your time. The last time you heard anything from your wife after the divorce was finished was a letter to say she had married your best friend. Your son, according to your wife, had fallen in with the wrong crowd. In any other circumstances, this would bother you, but now you've stopped caring about what goes on in the outside world. That place is no longer real. The only reality is inside the prison walls, a nightmare you've learned to live with. You don't even know what year it is half the time. After decades, you've just stopped caring. You've seen a guy beaten to death in here. You've heard countless screams from men having a mix of sugar and boiling water thrown in their faces. You've had good cellies and bad cellies. One of the bad ones was a mouthy tough guy. He was transferred with a new scar on his face, made by a double-edged homemade razor. Physical assaults are so common that many don't even get recorded. But the truth is, you barely even notice the violence these days. It's just a fact of life, like the sound of locks or the smell of disinfectant. You no longer even daydream about nice food or the touch of a woman. You focus only on what's in front of you. It's not what you don't have that hurts you in prison. Humans can get used to almost anything. What hurts the most is the things you could have had. You no longer see ruthless gangs or heartless criminals in here, not like the TV shows want to make out. You just see victims of childhood trauma, of cruelty and rotten luck. Men who, for the most part, were doomed from birth. You don't feel sorry for them. Some have done awful things, but you don't moralize. Prison is proof there is no such thing as free will because no one would choose to end up like this. Year 40. You came in here age 25 and now you're 65, the age at which most people retire. You often look in the mirror and you don't recognize yourself. And almost time to go, to leave these walls. But the strangest, most debilitating thing is you're not sure if you want to go. For decades, you barely thought about life outside. Now it hits you like a brick and it scrambles your mind. You've seen the changes on TV, new gadgets, wars, viruses, environmental crises, and moral panics. And after a while, it all became meaningless. Sure, they've given you classes on how to reintegrate, but the fact is you became your prison number a long, long time ago. The outside world is no place for a man who thinks he's a number. Part of you wants to stay in your cell with your books, where you at least know the layout of the land.
This reminds me of the Shawshank Redemption. Brooks was here.
Mm, that's a great movie.
It is. It is. And that's what happened to him is he became institutionalized.
And the dark irony is that the more dehumanized and institutionalized you become in prison, the easier it gets. The parole board said you were ready. The electronic bolt snaps open, and they lead you down the corridor past the few old timers who bother to say goodbye. But you're struck with a thought. Maybe the outside isn't where you belong. Maybe prison is your natural habitat. They hand you your civilian clothes and a small bag with your wallet and phone. There are $300 in there. You're not even sure it buys much in this new world. The phone lights up in your palm. The woman at the desk hides a smile as you prod the antique screen. The last time you stood here, you were good looking, with full hair, a man who once thought he'd do well in life. And now you're old, with 40 years missing. But inside you still feel the same, like your life was paused while the world kept moving. The door opens, daylight hits your eyes, and you take your first steps into the future. Doing life behind bars shows just how crushing prison can be, but some inmates refuse to accept their fate. Watch how insanely creative prisoners escaped from maximum security.
That's a pretty cool. Pretty cool.
I'll have to check out this channel. It's really cool. I like the video quality.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of other ones, and it's pretty informative. I mean, it is on a um, cartoon backdrop, but it's
They do
still
all kinds of topics.
yeah, pretty much.
Hmm.
So I fast forwarded through a lot of these because you and I did probably 3 hours at one point on the tire tracks.
Hmm.
Remember that video?
Yeah, yeah.
We did a long time on the tire tracks. And I didn't want to go through all these tire tracks because I mean to be fair, if they found any of these tire tracks that were Brian's from the White Elantra, um, I don't know if they're actually gonna ever tell us. What do you think?
Right. Yeah, no, I wonder if they were able to determine anything, from that. Whether also too, whether, how old they were, how these if these tracks are from that night or these tracks are from before. 'Cause, I mean, the pattern of them looks very similar to when Xana's in the Steelers jersey out in the front of the house.
Yeah.
But I mean, they would probably look similar if, you know, they're caused because of the same, type of driving or same trying to make that turn a little faster than you ought to. So they probably just keep getting refreshed or. So
I mean, because even as she was dancing in that video, or not dancing, but she was kind of frolicking around the driveway, a big white truck came
Mhm.
past her.
Right,
And I
right,
wonder if, any of those vehicles, like you said, had been speeding down that road and almost lost it and kind of had to slam on their brakes. And that's why all those tire tracks and all those marks are ingrained in that area.
right. I mean, if you were to stand there for a good hour or so and watch cars go by, they'd probably travel the same path. So it's,
Right.
like our friend was showing in the video where they were kind of claiming that maybe the light bulb camera um, version of the with the Elantra going by was just one Elantra, one vehicle, and then they copied and pasted it because it looks so similar on each of the passes. But I think with that, it's just one of those things where you gotta, because they are so similar, it's almost like one of those cartoons where it's like, okay, these two pictures look identical, but you got to find the little details where they're different. And like the first thing, not the well, it took a minute to try and find something that was different. But if you look at where the pumpkins are on that railing in front of 1112, as the car goes by on the one pass, if you look at the tail light, it's kind of centered with the pumpkin. But then on another pass, it's a little to the right of the pumpkin. So you can clearly see, I think, that it's different passes. They just look very similar. And with something like that, you gotta get to the details. You gotta get to the fine details to be able to tell them apart.
And I think this photograph right here is a photograph where everybody was saying that they could see the picture of, or
Or the reflection.
the reflection. Yeah, the reflection of what supposedly looked like Xana.
Right.
This is
Right.
the window, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because there's the pizza boxes, there's the trash can. Here's the next slide's a little clearer. Because up here toward the top, if you look at that picture while they're dusting this for prints, because they did eventually show us where they found some handprints against this window.
Mm-hmm.
And you could kind of see the outline of a female's face, but if you use your common sense, you're going to know that it's this woman that's standing on this side. For whatever reason, it's being reflected upwards. I never figured it out. I'm not
Well,
one of those.
I can help you figure it out because
Okay,
look at the reflection of the person in the. It looks like they're wearing a white shirt, right?
right,
Straight ahead.
right,
They are at ground level and they see themselves just like they're looking at a mirror in a department store, right?
right.
If you take the camera, now imagine you're trying to recreate the one that created the ghostly looking figure. If you take the camera instead of ground level and you raise it up and then go up the hill, then you probably put that person's reflection in the upper portion of the window, just simply because of the camera angle.
Okay,
So when I look at it as
okay,
a photographer, it makes total sense. It's nothing. Also,
right.
too, if you look at the multiple photos, there where you see her face, and then in another picture you see her head's turned, and then it's so you can see it's the. I think
Yeah,
what made it tricky was that it was hard to see the woman in the foreground because there's a guy in front of her. So you
yeah,
think
because
it's like
she,
there's no woman there, you know.
yeah, because her face was in this area, and I think the woman that you're talking about would have been right here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Where my cursor is. Because there was like four people standing right here looking and dusting. These photographs are really, I mean, it's creepy to sit there and look inside the house now, especially with all that we've been shown and know about this. I
Right.
mean, it's a lot more creepier now looking at this than it was at 3 years ago. You know what I mean? While we were talking about it for the very first time.
Yeah, and it's so frozen in time. It's so hard to people are living, they're living their life, they're looking forward to futures, and then it just comes to a complete standstill. And yet the person who did it continues to move forward. Kind of like the guy,
Right.
like the guy in the cartoon, getting older, getting older.
Yeah.
Hopefully one day telling the story, to set his soul free, just to tell everybody the truth of what happened.
I mean, and it might be something that he writes and nobody believes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's hope he has somebody type it for him because his handwriting leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah, true, true.
We've always said that this looked like it is a Jack in the Box bag. There, I never noticed that before. I was saying
Hmm.
this was like a Panda Express. Look, there's Jack. There's the hat.
Yeah,
I didn't never notice that
I never
before.
saw that either. I guess we always saw the other side of the bag.
Yeah, I never noticed that
Huh.
before. That is that is interesting to say the least.
Well, and you know what that says too? That says instantly to me, law enforcement has always known more than we will ever know, and we knew. They saw this picture a long time ago. So here, everybody comes on YouTube Monday morning quarterbacking. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. We have looked at the photos and we have come to this conclusion, and you all must be corrupt because you didn't come to the same conclusion. Well,
There it
that's
is.
that's there you go. They know more. They've seen more. Um, they've been in the same room with Brian when he was arrested. That's the unfortunate
Wow.
thing. There's so much distrust for law enforcement. It's almost like, would you do that with a firefighter? Your house is on fire, and they're like, "We need to squirt some water on your house to save your house." No, I disagree with you. I don't think we take that water away. We know better.
Right.
We're YouTubers. We know exactly. You shouldn't put water on fire. No.
And I mean, as much as I don't want to continue to go over this stuff, it's stuff like this that just blows my mind. Every time you go through this, you see something that you saw 3 years ago, and it's totally different.
Yeah.
So does that
Yeah.
mean that they took this photo and the other photo and they just showed you one photo and this is the real photo? No, it's the same damn photo. We just weren't looking for specific things. We're looking for other things specifically, and we ignored what was right there in front of our faces.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. I thought this was an interesting photo.
Yeah.
That is not Brian. That is one of the investigators. And I think she's like outside the window.
Right. Looks like the camera flash above. You can
Yeah,
see there's like a my flash or Nikon flashes have that red plastic on them,
yeah.
which I think shoots out the pulse to trigger your remote flashes.
And there's another little bit of the Jack in the Box bag.
And don't you think the handprints, it looked like those two handprints? I'm either thinking somebody came up from behind the window during a party and tried to scare somebody. That's one thing. Or that's where you would put your hands if you thought you might maybe the window's unlocked and you could just slide it up, but there's nowhere to hook your fingers on the outside because they don't give you a little lip on there.
Or somebody was outside and you put your hands like to make faces at them inside the window, just like you said. Any of those
Oh, on the
scenarios
inside,
is,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
put your
any of
hands
those
in.
scenarios is plausible. There is the handprint, right? That's what we're seeing right here. That they're measuring something right here. I don't
Hmm.
know what it is that they're measuring. All I see is the glare of the light. There's something right there. There's like it looks like a smiley face or something that somebody put in the window.
Hmm.
Like there's one, and then there's a line underneath. That's what they're measuring.
Hmm. Yeah.
You see it, right?
Yes. You see it. You see it, right?
You see it, right?
Yeah, you see it. Bullshit. Yeah, almost looks like an L1.
I mean,
That's
it
the
could be anything, but I see like two lines and then something underneath it.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
that's the mouth and yeah, two eyes that are lines. Or
I
maybe
don't
a
know.
nose. Maybe the L is a nose,
I don't know. That's interesting though. They're
But I mean,
measuring.
it's almost like when people look up into the clouds and like, oh, I see a giraffe. Oh no, I see an elephant. It's like
Yeah.
it's all
See, there
subjective.
it is. There it is. You're right. An L1.
Yeah,
You've seen these before, haven't you?
it no,
Are
no.
you
I did.
cheating?
Is this a group of them that's like 602
Yes,
photo? Yeah,
yes,
I did
yes.
scan through them, but pretty quickly. I didn't really look at
This
them that
does say
close.
L1. L1, and then it has like a little barbell looking thing underneath it.
But you remember the old logo for Mac computers where it was a little face, and I mean that's how it looked similar to that. Maybe that's what they're
Yeah.
trying to draw.
I don't know. It could be anything. It could be
Right.
anything. I mean, I like the fact that they left no stone left unturned. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, they definitely put in the work. I mean, they photographed. I mean, how many photographs? How many terabytes of information?
Yeah, there it is a lot clearer once it's dusted.
Hmm. Almost looks
I
like it's
don't
written in pen, like a
I
Sharpie or
don't
something.
I don't know what that would be about. L1.
Huh.
I mean, it is intriguing enough to measure it and take a photo of it, so
unless it's a a 17 slight kind of upside down, and they were trying to, it's like a measurement, from here to here. That's the line is 17. Not the police that the police did it, but somebody,
Right.
you know.
I don't know. I do see the 17 right there upside down, but I don't know what this would entail.
I mean, I could see, if it'd be the kind of thing, if you're planning on replacing that window and you just want to write down the measurement of the window before you replace it. So I don't know. Could be like you said, it could be a
Isn't
lot of
it the
things.
window with the screen that was taken off? That that does look like a 17. I mean, the window could be 17. I don't know, about 17 inches up and down. It looks like a pretty big window.
Yeah.
But I mean, these are just some of the photos that they found intriguing, and I'm glad that they measured and they took photos of it. There it is a lot better.
But they, I imagine, I mean, they do have to make some decisions. They can't take pictures of absolutely every inch of everything.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure they're getting close ups and fine detail on certain things. And then on other things, they're just getting more wider shots so that they can look at it. Because sometimes you don't notice something until you get a wider shot, you get it onto a computer, you look at it, you zoom in, and you say, hey, it looks like a sheath. you know, you,
Yeah.
you notice things later, you know.
I'm glad that they have a clear camera with these pictures. It's not some grainy ass photo that you can't tell what the hell you're looking at. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like they
right.
could have used a old camera and this could have been all grainy and antique looking. They're like, see it? It's 17 upside down. No, I don't see anything.
Let me see if I can find the photo that you're on and see if there's any metadata. Which was this?
This is photo 143.
Oh wait, I'd have to figure out where I save my damn photos. I don't.
I mean, it could be anything, Jeff, like you're saying. It could be anything. Somebody could have just put the 17. That could have been somebody's age and some kind of, I don't know. Kids are weird. They mark up stuff weird.
Yeah.
L1, it could have been, I don't know. We could sit there and try to figure it out. I just, I'm amazed by the quality of these pictures.
Well, yeah, judging by the reflection of the woman, I mean, you can see she's using a DSLR type camera. So these could very well be like,
See,
4,000 by 4,000.
there it is again from the outside,
Oh,
I
did it say
think.
L? That says L2, right?
L2, yeah. L2
I
with
wonder what that is.
with a frowny face.
I wonder what that
L1,
is.
L2. Hey, it looks like 12. I was there. I wrote it. I had to tattoo the window.
Be sure to
I,
be sure to
I,
watch
I,
12.
God, y'all come and watch 12 gauge. I confess, it was me. It was me. It
Don't
was
say
me.
it.
It's a 12. It's a 12. I threw that in there just to do some promotional stuff. Look, it's an L1. It's a 17. Oh, it's a 12. Subliminal messages. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
They used to do that in the old time movie theater films. They used to splice it and put in little subliminal stuff.
Is that where they would like in a movie they'd put like a frame of something to suggest to
Yes.
go get you some popcorn or get you a drink or you're thirsty or
Yes. I mean, there's the photo of the window again, and I mean, if the house was still standing without the plywood on the windows and stuff, if you walked up here and looked inside, wouldn't that creep you out a little bit?
Yeah. And you know what that sign above the window above the kitchen sink says, right? See the
Oh,
little plaque above the.
this is our happy place or something like that.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah,
our
something like that.
happy home or
I think it's our happy place, or this, like you said, this is our happy place. I think.
man.
How
That is
ironic.
that is awful, man. Like you can tell they're good at their job. Look at all the stickers they put on there. Now you're telling me anybody else who claims to be a sleuth could go and look at this window and be like, "Well, I don't see anything. It looks like a window to me."
Yeah.
Unless you're me, and then I would know that I put the 12 on there.
It's really too bad. Like the people who did the investigation, they like aren't doing interviews. So many questions could be answered. So many wild, theories that are thrown out there could be like totally debunked.
November 2022. Where was I? Shit. I don't know.
Yeah, you better have the answers to those questions.
I was out stargazing. Damn it.
And what's become clear watching like the interviews with Dylan and Bethany and Jack D, it's like when you go to bed at night, it almost makes you think, the next morning there might be a serious quiz, asking you questions. What time did you do this? Where were you here? What time did
Right.
you do that? And if you're a few minutes off or inaccurate, there's going to be YouTubers that are going to do videos for an hour about it. like,
What does
they,
that say? Xana Kernodle, Maddie Mogan. You see that?
yeah.
Wonder what that could be. Is that their blood?
I don't know. Do they have any closer pictures of those signs?
Um, n- no.
Where did you download those pictures from? I don't think I downloaded them. I think I looked at them and I can't believe I didn't download them.
I got this off the Moscow, no, ISP website.
Oh, okay.
There's this little paper, and it had two little red dots on it. Does anybody know what that entails? Because it had Xana's name and Maddie's name, and it had two little red dots. Wonder if there's blood spatter there on that wall. It clearly says Madison Mogan and Dana Kernodle. I don't know how close up I can get without it just. I can't read it. It didn't say anything underneath, I don't think. I don't know. But why would they have two little red dots like that with their names on it? What
Wait,
does that mean?
what numbers of pictures
This
are we
one is
looking at? 30.
156. See, I haven't looked at these photos. This is the first time I'm going through them. Because I figured, people would want to see them. Because people probably went through them the first day that they dropped. But I just noticed that just now. Does anybody have any clue what that would be about? And why they would use the red dot? Let me see how close I can get. Yeah, that's as close as I can get. And that's 500% zoomed in. I'm even wearing my glasses and I can't tell what underneath there says.
And that's
But that just that just
156.
yeah, that's just interesting to me that it has two little red dots like that. Wonder if there's blood on that wall. It could be feasible that it could be Xana's blood on that wall, and definitely Maddie's. If he stabbed Xana there and she had blood spatter, it would be the same blood that he just used on the other two. But wouldn't Kaylee's blood be on there?
Hmm.
That's wild. Let's move on. Y'all write that down. 156. There is. I really don't see anything of interest in that photo.
Just I mean, you got the stools there.
Yeah. But didn't the police put those there after the fact?
That was my understanding or thought.
Yeah.
Um, what about the time on the stove clock? What's that say? It's hard to see. I zoomed in. I can't see it.
I hate doing it like this. I like to screenshot it and then zoom in like that. It's easier. You can't see it. But people have a hard time with this freaking amino black on this counter. That looks like a burn mark to me. And I've never thought that this was amino black, just to be clear. This looks like a burn mark. Like they would have stuck something on here and burned the freaking laminate. It doesn't
I
look
think.
like a stain to me.
Hope I'm hearing my voice come through your mic. I think.
Yeah.
I think that's I think that's the Amito black because I think there's earlier photos where that counter is clean. It doesn't have that.
But you can see kind of like a stain right here. How it
Yeah, I
kind of
think.
stained this area.
Yeah, I think that's where it ran over the counter and dripped down. Because
So that was the Mito Black that we saw on that other side. You know, the counter by the refrigerator. Remember at the very beginning, people were saying that that was blood going down the counter.
right, right,
You know where I'm talking about, right? Where the
yeah,
microwave is,
yeah,
right there
way
by the pantry.
off to the right.
Yeah, we all thought that was blood at the very beginning.
Yeah, safe to say we were wrong about a great many things. I think you got to be prepared to be wrong on some things, but
Well, I'm okay with being wrong, you know.
right, right. I mean, wrong, right, exactly.
I mean, you got to wonder how much this stuff was already there and what was brought on that table. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I
See
think
that door? That slider looks like crap. See, there's some blue stuff on it.
yeah, and it's my understanding that Amito Black it goes on light blue like that, and if it contacts anything, any proteins or blood, it those areas turn dark blue. But the thing that I'm confused about is what other things contain proteins that would trigger it other than blood,
Right.
like a messy counter with food remnants, or I don't know.
This reminds me of that video that we did when you were explaining how you put your slider handle on back
Yeah,
upside down. That was at the very beginning, man. That was a long time ago. That was a long time ago.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, when we whoever put our sliding glass door together had it upside down, and you could just lift the door and slide it right open.
And I think that's what they said on, that's what Ashlyn said about this one, is you could jiggle it just right and you could take it off the track, she said.
Who said that?
Ashlyn Couch in one of her interviews.
Mm,
When she was saying that That's one of the reasons she didn't feel safe in this house is because it was so easy to get into.
Uh, but I'm surprised they don't have like a, we've got like a wood, a wood rod to stick
Yeah.
it in the door to block it, like what they're doing with the stools.
See, they put a number in the next one next to this speaker. That's all that is a speaker. I wonder if they found any kind of remnants of fingerprints or something in order for it to be evidence marker number two. It's probably fingerprints. I would have guessed. This really creeped me out when I was looking at this earlier, going up the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because it's pretty damn dirty, and there's a lot of, little remnants of either spilled alcohol or scuffings or whatever. Could Brian have stepped on a beer can and made the crackling sound? Or even kicked a beer can, kicked a beer bottle, and made that crackling noise? But I still don't understand what she'd see the flashing light under her door.
Right.
I mean, could look at all this stuff on the floor. You're telling me if he's chasing Xana back to her room, you can't tell me that he's not knocking over beer bottles and breaking them or kicking cans or whatever, because as you see in these next photos, there's a lot of stuff all over the place.
I mean, or did he have some sort of flashlight on him? Like, what if he attached a flashlight, like to his upper chest area, with like a button on the back to just on off, instantly, just in case he ran into an area where he did need to see something. And what if he looked over the railing down to the first floor and shined a light down there to see if anybody was down there, or maybe knocked a beer can or something
I
down there?
mean, that's true. That's true. It could have been a bright light bouncing from the wall back towards her room.
Yeah, I mean, if her door was closed, I mean, isn't that's what I'm perceiving. Her door was closed and she saw light coming up from underneath it, or was her
Hmm.
door closed?
I don't think it's ever been stated. There's more pictures of the kitchen. I wonder how true it is that this was the French fries of the night, or if we're just assuming because that was what was on the microwave. I mean, how could you tell the freshness of these French fries? You know what I mean?
Right. It does have the. I mean, it has got a Jack in the Box logo on it, so it is. At
I mean,
least
it's
it's
more
from the same
plausible.
restaurant.
What the word plausible? And these are like cherry tomatoes, right? Isn't that what they're called?
Yeah, yeah. And there's some breath mints right next to the French fries.
Yeah.
Butter.
I always get that in my French fries too when I go there. There's always a straight fry in the mix of the curly fries.
Yeah.
I get that happen there, and I get that happen at Arby's.
Or you get one little
But
piece of an onion ring with your fries.
yeah, yeah, something mixed like a prize. I can't wait to find what I'm gonna get that order.
Or you get like a severed finger with your chicken nuggets.
Yeah, this is good. I mean, I never really saw anything indicative here that I saw.
They like to drink. They get their White Claws and their wine.
I mean, it's interesting to me that they had two refrigerators and some dressers up here, I would have never in a million years have thought that this was set up like this. I always freaked out when I saw this arrow because I thought this was the bathroom and these little things in the window. I always thought this was the bathroom window for whatever reason. When you're looking at this from the front of the house, it
Hmm.
looks like the bathroom, but it's not.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah,
You get what I'm talking? That
yeah.
little arrow that's pointed upwards,
Yeah, there was a
and you
photo
see
of
all
a guy
this.
looking at stuff in the window, right? And it's the
Yeah, yeah,
arrow and
yeah, yeah. I always thought that was the bathroom. I mean, you have to photograph, and I'm sure they got video too, not only body cams, but they got video as well. You know, I mean, it takes a naked eye to identify blood on any of this white surface. You know what I mean? But they're trained
hmm.
to look for blood spots. I couldn't go in there and say, "Oh, that's a blood spot. That's spatter right there." You know, they tore apart all this stuff, dusted it, ran the light over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I imagine too, isn't it like with the, the officers that first get on scene? I mean, they're going to walk around in the area investigating. There's going to be some potential for them stepping in places where they probably wish they hadn't, or they could potentially, mess up
Right.
some what could have been some good evidence, or track stuff. The chances of them stepping in some blood and then tracking it to where they walk to is very high.
What
Or it's
is
just
this? What is this, Jeff?
that looks like a. It's made by Canon. Is it a battery? I mean, I've got a little case like that for my memory cards. Um,
I have no clue what that is.
wait, let me see. What does it say? Ivy, Canon Ivy. I think it's a battery.
Yeah, Ivy.
Canon Ivy at Amazon. Hold on, I'll tell you what it is. Oh, it's a little photo printer, a mini photo printer.
Oh wow, I've never seen that before. No, Mountain Mama. This is right outside their doors on the third floor.
Maddie and Kaylee's right outside Maddie and Kaylee's doors in the
Yeah,
the
it's
hallway to the bathroom.
yeah. It would be um in this area right here. Wait, hold on.
It'd be on the other.
No, it'd be this side
Well, no, because
because
it's the. Oh,
there's a
is that?
window.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
This is the bathroom. This is that area, and this is Kaylee's room. Always
That's
get
right.
turned around. Always get turned around. Always think this is Kaylee's room for whatever
I
reason.
mean, don't you think everybody gets turned around in that house? And don't you think it's always been my opinion that a small model of this house would have helped the jury? And I'd never understood why Ann Taylor would have been against that idea unless she wanted the jury to get turned around inside the house. Didn't want to assist with understanding the layout. I just saw just today. I saw somebody in a text live chat was saying that Bethany's bedroom was on the opposite side of where it actually is, and people had to correct this person in the chat. I was like, wow, I thought people's got that figured out by now.
Yeah, her room's right here. There's the
Yeah.
spare.
Yeah,
Xana's
they were saying
living
that
room.
Bethany's room was directly under Xana's, so she would have heard stuff. It's like, no, you got it. You're just simply incorrect.
Yeah, I mean, I'm cool on the second floor. It's just getting to the third floor, especially going into the house and you're walking
Yeah.
up those stairs. Once you make that turn, it's easy to get turned around
Yep. Yep.
because I've always thought this was Maddie's room. Once you go up the stairs, I always thought Kaylee's door was Maddie's,
Yeah.
and the bathroom's right here, and Maddie's is toward the back. But I mean, how did he know which damn door to go into? I mean, you just saw that stuff all by that wall. how would you have known which door to go into unless the door was already open, right?
Well, he made himself a dollhouse of the, and then he didn't get lost in there because it clarified everything. But he could have gone to the real estate websites for this address and just looked at the interior photos and figured out, like, okay, when I go through the kitchen, up the stairs, and know which way to turn.
Also, he could have been in the house before, There's been
Hmm.
many of the people talking about, mysterious things happening in that home.
I mean, a person with any history of breaking in and doing stuff like that, yeah, it's a possibility.
True. How did the cop know that this was a rock that was
Right.
just walked over there to a random rock?
It's funny, they got their theories about that the knife sheath is a movable object, but they can't get their mind wrapped around a movable object of a stone. You see them at Home Depot.
I mean, the cop had to planted it that stone there, right?
Right, right. Man, 12. I hate to say it, but I didn't realize how late it was. And I got a bunch of stuff to do tomorrow, so I better hit the bed. This is my favorite type of stuff to do too. Looking at
I
talking
know,
talking
I
about this
know,
case.
I know. We spent too much time like earlier. We should have started earlier. You got planned tomorrow? Maybe we can cut it off and pick it up tomorrow night.
Um, possibly might be able to do that.
Okay. All right, then write down somewhere we're at photo 186.
186. I'll text myself,
Okay.
or I'll just text you. There we go.
Yeah, I
Then we
think
both
people are
have it.
probably, I think people are trying to, or starting to get a little tired as well. Um, but you and I, we can go hours and hours and hours looking at this stuff. That's what I've always found amazing that, you and I can sit there and just talk
Yeah.
about this stuff and not really interject our own thoughts on it. Just rather look at what we're seeing and
Yeah,
coming.
it's just observations. It's observations without too much. There's no stress of like, well, you guys, whatever we observe and whatever we look at, somehow we got to figure out a way to get Brian off. This is important. So there's that stress level on top of it of like, we're doing the work of Van Taylor. We gotta. So you know, and I think when you start with a mindset like that, you end up seeing things that aren't really there. You interpret things in a way that you know. I guess I mean it's difficult to go into anything without any bias, preconceived notions, or. But I would like to think when I'm looking at photos, I'm trying to bring in my experience as a photographer. Um, just taking pictures all my life.
Right,
You know,
right. I mean, also, like we've always said, they go into this not looking to find a suspect, but to eliminate suspects. And
right,
when you go into that mindset, you have that understanding that, okay, we're not trying to put this on this person. We're trying to eliminate these people from being the suspect.
right.
That's easier to get to the suspect than actually putting these people in the roles like YouTube does. And it's not a cool look. It's not even correct. So
Well, and
you
there's
know,
also the power of omission. It's like if they find something that makes him look guilty, they're like, okay, we don't need to talk about that anymore. Like, how many times have I brought up? Xana texted or commented, "Never forget the foundation of the bathtub at 4:12 a.m." Kind of, kind of locks a moment in the timeline in.
right,
And
right,
they never talk about that. They never explore it. I can't tell you how many times I mention it, and they're like, "Well, what does that mean?" It's like,
right.
how long ago did this crime happens? And you're asking how, what does that even mean? It's like, man, you guys don't want to talk about certain things. What about the details on the car that show to you that it's an Elantra? Nah, we don't want to go down that road. We'd rather let's look at this blurry image that we can't make it out, but that's clearly They were
Right.
obviously murdered like over by the 1330 camera. It's like
I
okay,
mean, that is interesting to me. Like, there's still people talking about the coat on the
right,
hydrant, even though that's been. Don't you believe at any point in time there would be crime photos of that hydrant with that coat on it? Had
right,
that been actual evidence? That's another thing. It's like people do not eliminate their thought pattern with things that they view as evidence, with the crime photos, with the documents, with the statements from people. How can you not eliminate your thoughts of saying, well, that had something to do with it?
right,
Well,
right.
it's never been brought up in any of this stuff. I guess they're just waiting like I was waiting, and I hate to say this, but I was wrong about the 712 camera. I'm still going to Moscow on my own. I got to see it for my own eyes.
Didn't we make a bet on that? Don't you owe me like you owe me $1 or something or a coffee?
Probably a coffee or something. I don't know. We did bet. We did bet,
Well,
but
remember,
I got to go to Moscow to see it for my own eyes. I mean, Nina
yeah,
sent me some pictures, but
I would
still
go up
not
and knock on that door. I would actually say,
still
"Hey, did you
not
live
from the
here?"
angle that I wanted to see. I wanted to see the angle like, walk up to it,
Yeah,
touch it, run your hand over it, even a video or something. Be like, look, there's nothing here. Look in the corner, looking
right. You
around.
could you could even say, if there was no camera there, but there was like holes where screws would go where the camera maybe used to be, then that's something. But what about when I used to say at 4:19:01 and then there was a trunk, I heard a trunk, and then 18
Yeah,
seconds later there was a car. But then when we got all that 1320 footage and I lined up the time, and it's like, wait a minute, that car in the distance driving up, hanging a left on Nez Perce Drive,
right.
it's all matching the sound of the car that I'm hearing. So it's got to be that. It can't be the getaway car. And then of course when we see the actual Elantra speeding away just before 421, it's like, okay, that's that's clearly somebody trying to get away from, either they just robbed a bank or they just slaughtered somebody,
Right.
or they are
You know
very
what
late
else?
for work.
You know what else I'm going to do if I ever get to Moscow? I'm going to walk up there. I'm going to turn around with my GoPro and I'm going to face what used to be 1122,
Uh-huh.
and then I'm going to stand there looking straight ahead so you can see what kind of peripheral image a camera would have gotten had there
Mm,
been a camera there.
right, right.
Because there's a lot of people that say there's no way that if there was a ring camera there, it would have been able to see the
Hmm.
peripheral image of 1122. I'm not trying to say that they saw that camera saw in the backyard. I'm over all that. We've been shown that that is not right.
Hmm.
But I'm trying to say that, could a camera have captured anything of evidence?
Well, and it
And
all
one thing,
depends on how wide the lens is, because the
Mhm.
wider lens you're going to be able to see further left and to the right. Um, but yeah, it's a good point to see if. But I think there's clues in the way things are worded.
Yeah,
A camera captured this, or the vehicle is seen doing this. I think one says it's a camera, the other suggests that it's a person saw something. That kind of thing. Or
right.
another suggests that it wasn't actually seen doing it, but the headlights of the car is off camera, but the behavior of the headlights, casting light across the surface of houses or trees, reveal to them what the car was doing. So, things like that too.
I mean, if nothing else, you're right. Did it help in the investigation of the Elantra? I mean, I just want to know because I saw the newscast. Hold on a second. Trying to plug this in. My laptop's about to go dead. I saw the newscast that stated that. You know what I mean? So it's not something that I'm invested in. Personally, I just want to make sure, just like everything else, I wasn't imagining things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And PKC makes a good point. She's the one that emailed me the picture of that guy in front of that apartment handing the police something. So what was he handing them?
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
And this was where? Where was this guy standing?
At 712.
712? Oh, okay.
There was a guy handing the police something.
Hmm.
Could have been his ID, could have been whatever. But she's the one that gave me that picture. But I know you got to get to bed, Jeff.
Maybe the
Hopefully,
I could see the pro burgers like, they're imagining like, hey, I found this K bar in the street. I just thought I had to hand it to you. It's like, oh,
yeah,
thanks,
that's what it looked like. It looked like something like, oh, I was just giving the police the knife sheaths, you know?
Right, right.
Because one more thing, Jeff. Remember at the very beginning there was rumors on, I think Reddit or even 4chan or whatever. Not that I took a lot of stock in those pages, but there was rumor that the knife sheath was originally found under Ethan. Or is that something that
Hmm.
WSU mom Kim said? I can't remember.
Hmm.
There's so much stuff out there,
Well,
you know?
there's a fresh example with Jack Decor's interview because Jack Decor mentions overhearing someone talking about. Oh man, my memory's fading now. What was it? He was well. Whatever. I can't remember what it was. He was relaying something he'd heard. Oh, about the shadow. About that Kaylee thought she saw a shadow behind the house. It kind of freaked her out, I guess. But he overheard that. I think probably from Dylan. So here's what happens. Dylan's talking about a shadow thing that happened a week ago.
Right.
Jack D comes up, overhears it, and then he shares it with Detective Payne. And now they're talking about it as if it was that night or around the time of the crime. So now there's accidental misinformation just because you don't have the complete picture, and he wasn't there, and it was hearsay, and he just overheard it, and he didn't. So this is the type of stuff that I think just happens all over the place. And then I was watching what's her name, Jules with the wonderful hairstyle. Sorry.
Yeah.
She's all talking. She's so confidently saying it's a lie. They lied about this. They lied about that. And it's like, no, I don't. I'm slower to call something a lie because just like I said, are you going to say Jack Decor's lying because he's making it sound like that shadow thing happened that night, but no, the truth of the matter is he overheard it and now he's just sharing it because he thought it was worth sharing. There's everything is worth sharing in that room, right? See something, say something.
Also, I read something earlier where she had wrote something about Jack
That
had
face is
stated
amazing.
where Jack had stated something that Kaylee supposedly that that Range Rover that was in the driveway was a rental because her original car broke down.
Right,
So
soon after buying it, right? Soon after getting it. Yeah.
right. So her coming to show Maddie her Range Rover, I'm pretty sure this one that she had taken that day to 1122 either looked or resembled the one that she had just bought.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
So whether it's the actual Range Rover or the Range Rover that you're borrowing until yours gets fixed, which you never got to go and retrieve, is it really that big of a deal?
Right, right. And because it's a Range Rover, that means she's got a ton of money, and she's obviously with the drug cartels. How else can you make money, right? Is that they say things like that, and it's just like, oh wow, this is unless you have. I can understand you say, look, I have this wild theory. This probably means nothing. It's crazy, but what do you think of this? Okay, but when you present it as like, well, or they say things like, well, we all know, or like Jesse likes to say, well, obviously, obviously, and we all know, and you know, I mean, I understand we want to like investigate. We all want to be like, we want to come in and take over. They want to come in and take over for Ann Taylor. We want to come in and take over for the investigators. And we got a list, and we want to check the boxes. Is this? Could it have been this? No, that didn't work. Check that. Check that box. Check that box. You know. The other little thing that you never hear Pro Burgers say is that because the thing that means so much to me, and I've said the phrase so many times because I think it says a lot. Any vehicle coming into a small dead end neighborhood, a little, and I always say little, small. It's a small dead end neighborhood, coming through there 5 times in the span of 30 minutes or 30-ish minutes. And on the last pass by that Linda Lane camera, they're driving much faster than the previous passes. And then they're speeding away just minutes after Xana's last sign of life. You know, it's like this. I mean, that's one of that fact alone is really makes me believe the way I believe.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me throw you this little spin on it, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
If we were going to be doing that with Koberger, we would say, well, what was Brian doing to get all that money to travel, to take all those selfies of all those places that he took those selfies at? What was he doing to get the money to be traveling to Mount Rainier, to be traveling here and traveling there? He was only a TA. They don't make that much money. How was he getting money on the side? What was he doing? Ah, that's what he was doing in the mirror.
Yeah, his love
When
handle.
he was showing the jeans. When he was showing the jeans. Brian has an OnlyFans.
Love handle OnlyFans.
See how ridiculous that sounds?
Right.
That's how it sounds to us, guys, whenever y'all talk the way y'all talk.
Yeah.
That's how it sounds to us. See how ridiculous that sounds? Brian could not have savings. He could not have any other source of income other than him working. But if he did, that explains why he was able to travel all over and take all those wonderful selfies of his, go to ball games, go to Mount Rainier, go here, go there. How did he get the money to do that?
Right. Well, they really, and they believe it too. I mean, I try to keep that in mind, that they really believe this stuff, but they make him the victim. He is the victim in all this. You know,
Yeah.
he's an innocent guy, but your Honor, Brian is innocent. In a court of law, presumed innocent until proven guilty. That's all I mean. That's all I'm really trying to say. But they're not going to buy that. They're going to think I'm actually saying he's innocent.
You know what would be cool if I could do the AI? You know, as he's walking in Albertsons, he walks like an old man, and those pants he was wearing reminds me of how my grandfather used to have bigger pants because he lost weight.
Yeah.
And those pants really don't fit right, but they still look. They give you the outline of a bigger person. That's what he looked like in those clothes, and he was kind of slouched over.
Is that what they? I think they were
No, they look like double knit reversible slacks.
Oh, okay.
What I was going to say is it would be cool if I could make an AI where I could take him walking from the Albertsons and put him in the backyard where those footsteps, where those footprints are, and line them up.
Oh, to see
that would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if he walks like a duck, like Brian Laundrie did. Brian had that.
He does walk. He walks with his feet out.
Yeah.
See, I notice weird things about people. I don't know where it came from, but
That's a good idea. It's a good idea. Yeah, because you got a weird walk, you're going to leave weird footprints.
You could line those up and actually have him walking the way he walked into the Albertsons. Just turn him a little bit and have him walking by that stump.
Yeah.
What did y'all have that argument about that stump?
Oh, in the backyard there?
Yeah. You've had arguments with every little theory you've ever had. Somebody has came and like rebutted you.
Well, anytime you just don't agree with everything that they're saying, or you start to question what they're saying, even if you question it with kindness, no, they don't want to hear it. They want it.
There was actually 2 stumps in the backyard.
Two stumps?
Hmm.
I know there's
One
one
on
kind
the
of painted white, right? I think
yeah.
they ended up using it like a table or something. Where was the second one? I don't remember the second.
There was the one on the right, and there's one on the left
Oh, okay.
by the retainer wall.
Uh, Man, I wish they would have put a camera in the back of that house and the front and everywhere. To have a time machine and go back and, you know,
See, that officer did think those tracks in the snow were 13 or 14. Yeah, and if you notice in those videos of him walking into the Albertsons and the Costco, man, he had a foot like that.
yeah. I'd love to know what he was saying to that woman in Costco. Do you think it was a
You,
situation where it's like, oh, I didn't realize Costco you need a membership card, or did
you
I
know, in
forget my membership?
Pennsylvania, at the Costco in Pennsylvania, they don't ever ask for my membership card.
Right. And if she would have suggested, maybe you had a card and you dropped it in a crosswalk. What's a crosswalk? We don't have those in Pennsylvania.
No, he could have been saying, "Why are you racially profiling me? These people just walked by. You didn't check their cards." Who knows? Who knows? You muted yourself, Jeff.
Sorry, my mic box gave me a message that said it needed more power. That's weird. I've never seen that. Hopefully,
I
it's
know.
not done.
We've
Not
only
done.
been on for an hour and 36 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
One more comment. It
Oh, I
says
see.
Olivia Gonzalez made a hilarious TikTok imaging things he would have been Googling at the time. Another woman told me no, how to act like a human, how to file a complaint with Costco.
Hmm. I wish she would have insinuated that he was a virgin when she gave that victim impact statement. Because don't you think that would have really? I know she was trying to. She couldn't do to him what he did to her sister, but the next best thing
Right.
is to try and do that, make her words as cutting as his K-bar was. But I wish he would have insinuated that he was a virgin, and that would have just ticked him, pushed him over the edge, and he would have, been like one of those, like, like in Jack Nicholson when he's like, "You can't handle the truth."
Right.
Just,
I don't know. He looked a couple times like he was ready to speak.
yeah.
He really did.
I wish Hitler hadn't. Remember when Hitler kind of said, he kind of spoke for him and said, you don't want to make a statement or something like that. It kind of like, I wish you would have just left that open ended. Just let it hang there in the air. Like, do you have anything you wanted to say? And then just quiet. Just let it hang. Let him respond to that.
Hmm.
And but there's part of me that gets what Bill Thompson was trying to say. It's like, how can you know if you can believe anything that he would have said? And what if he would have said something that's just extremely even more painful to the family? I can understand that too. But then there's the other thing that I think is more important, that I think he was more worried about, that he could say something that would end up jeopardizing the plea deal that they had arranged. It would have like sent everything like back to the drawing board. It's like, okay, and he would have been kicking himself like, we had the bastard, we had the plea deal, we had him life in prison, and now because we allowed him to speak, now that's all out the window. So
Yeah,
I can understand that. I can understand that.
I see that too. I
And
see that.
I'm sure he wanted to know all the answers too, just like all of us. And I don't understand why the other side, to us, why they aren't more. They're upset with Dylan. They're upset with Jack D. Why aren't they upset with bushy eyebrows that he's so silent? He's got all the answers.
Right.
And then his lawyer is silent after he speaks. Now she's silent.
Yeah, you don't hear a word from her, and
Not
nobody
a
says
not a
nothing.
press conference. Biggest
Nothing.
case in
Nothing.
Idaho. Nothing.
She just went on to the next.
She's just a blonde with a bankroll. Huge bankroll.
I mean, and nobody questioned that at all.
Yeah.
Nothing. And then, possibly just to throw that out there as well. Maybe the evidence wasn't as strong as they thought it would have been. Maybe they bluffed him to the very end, denied all the motions because they weren't relevant, and that bluffed him enough to take the plea deal.
Yeah.
Because when you feel that you don't have any more option and you're going to face the firing squad
Take what you
and
get.
all, I mean, yeah, you take what you can get. You know your ass is guilty. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I'm guilty. The judge hasn't fell for any of my bullshit, so
Right.
what the best you can give me? What the best you can give me?
You think
You know?
You think they would have had a better chance with Judge?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they would have gotten everything they wanted. Um, yeah, that would have been a whole different scene. And it's so funny because they fought so hard to get the trial moved, get a different judge.
Yeah. I mean, they shot themselves in the foot pretty much by doing that, but their biggest thing, and this is one thing that I always was fixated on in the beginning, is that fair trial. Well, you're guaranteed a fair trial, regardless.
Hmm.
You know, there's avenues to maintain as fair trial as you can get. But had there not been a fair trial, he also has statutes in place for him to use those statutes as appeal factors. That was just like a smoke and mirror show, in my opinion,
Mm.
because they were so fixated on he needs a fair trial. He needs a fair trial. Okay, we get it. He does need a fair trial. He did need a fair trial. But you know what? At the end, you didn't have the evidence that you presented that you had in the way that you presented it. There was no alternative suspect. You could not get the Brady Giglio thing to stick. You couldn't get the the motion and lemony stuff. You couldn't get all this stuff to stick because it wasn't relevant enough for the judge with the evidence and case law and everything else presented to him that he could be okay with presenting this before the court
Yeah.
in front of a jury.
You
And
think
had she done her work and not just thrown a sloppy case together, she might have got some of those motions heard.
you think he was arguing with Anne, saying, but Anne, I read a book about this. I think we ought to be able to do this. Oh, and I got this idea about this case law from the 1800s that I think might work. I read a book about this too. I was in the
Possibly.
library of the jail and I saw this case law from the 1800s. It's very compelling. You know,
I mean, when they went all the way back to 1800s, I was like, what the hell? Y'all had to go way back to get this?
right? You got
And
to
then,
working pretty damn hard for an innocent man.
and then, and then Judge looking at him like, what the hell are you talking about, bro? What are you talking about? 1800s?
Yeah,
But you get what I'm saying? I mean, I myself wanted a trial. I did. I'll never sit here and say I didn't want a trial. I wanted a trial. Um, I wanted to make sure that whatever the outcome was, that it was going to be suitable for not only the families, but for the victims and everybody else. It just, who gives a shit about everybody else? Who gives
yeah,
a shit what I think? You know what I mean? I would have had to live with it on my own. I'm not the majority of, you know, the public opinion. So people either live with it or they don't. But they were working for a fair trial, and I believe that the judge was fair. I believe that Hitler was
hmm,
fair. I believe that he gave the outline that they didn't do their job with their paperwork.
yeah,
I mean, it's stupid to present a motion that you want more time because the other side has a better chronological base programming than you do to put all your information in place. They gave us this information like this. We don't have the time. Okay, why'd you take on another case? Why didn't you hire more people? You know, he did make logical. questions before her, and she never had an answer.
It's interesting too that her. Now I know the burden of proof is on the prosecution, so she didn't have to, or probably wasn't expected to, like say, these are the reasons that it couldn't have been Brian. But did you notice that it seemed like a huge part of her focus was on just getting that death penalty? Actually, what PK was saying reminded me of that it was all about the death penalty. He shouldn't get the death penalty because of his health conditions or his mental conditions. He shouldn't get the death penalty because of this. At one point I remember watching it thinking like, gosh, I feel like she's not even representing him anymore. She's just like a personal thing against the death penalty, and she's taking this opportunity to try and protest the death penalty and move this you know uh, this movement against the death penalty in Idaho. It's like, and then, but in the end, that's what it came down to, is a plea deal to just get rid of the death penalty. Almost makes me wonder. It's like she's like, look, Brian, I know you did this. We just got to focus on one thing. It's just let's just the best you can get is to get out of the death penalty. You know.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say that because she was focused on that. That was her. That was her focus.
Yeah.
And whether she knew he was guilty or whether she didn't, was neither here nor there. But she did what she had to do. She got that death penalty removed. Her client's alive. He's off the streets. He's not in a place where he can harm anybody else other than in prison. And that's doing her job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's doing her job. That's
No,
doing
that's
her
true.
job.
Her job is to get a not guilty verdict, whether the person did it or whether they didn't do
Yeah.
it. It doesn't matter. And I'm sure when you realize, okay, that is your job, that's your job description, you don't really care. You probably tell him, look, I don't even want to know. My job is to come in here and get you a not guilty verdict. There's no need to talk about whether you really did it or not. You know.
And I learned this firsthand because I went to adjudication hearing probably a couple of weeks ago, and that defense lawyer was throwing all this stuff to discredit an officer. Well, why didn't you look into this? How long did you talk to this person? Why don't you know that? So you're saying that my client can only spend this amount of time at this venue that you're asking for, but then you're seeing uncertain that he could spend even more. And he was going on and on. He was like, she was shrinking in the chair. You know what I mean? Because
Hmm.
this defense lawyer was just going at it, and they're not used to that. You know what I mean? I've heard that generally the defense lawyer does not go gung ho like that, but there's always a chance.
Right.
And I've always heard the defense's job is to discredit anything you got to say, whether it be evidence, whether it be about your own personal or professional history regarding what you do for your agency. Do you have any Brady violations against you? Do you have any misconduct? Do you have any cases against you?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like anything that could be brought up. That's why it's always wise whenever, you know, you're around certain people, just keep your mouth shut because if you're
Hmm.
talking in front of the wrong person, it could be brought up against you in a court of law. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So,
And that's when I think about Brett Payne's testimony on the stand. A lot of people gave him a hard time. He'd say, "Well, I don't recall this," or I don't blame him for not. There's no motivation for him to say a single word extra, anything to help
right,
Anne. Just answer the questions, and no need to expound, because all she's there to do is destroy all the work you did. I mean, it's just like if she were to go again to the firefighter analogy. If you're attacking a firefighter, yes, you saved grandma from the fire, but you know what? That was our favorite couch, and you sprayed water all over it.
right.
And like that's where I have issue with you. You messed up. You done messed up, Ron. But
Yeah, I mean, I have no complaints about this. I mean, I really don't. And it's still interesting to dive into these photos and look at stuff and see things that you didn't see. Because the one thing people accuse everybody of doing is being tunnel vision, but we do that as individuals anyways. We get tunnel vision. Think
Right.
of think of all the stuff that you've seen that's been brought out that before, had you seen it, you wouldn't have been able to digest what they're showing us now because you were so fixated on other theories or other avenues. You
Right.
get what I'm saying? Like the 412. Don't forget the foundation in the bathtub. I mean, that was a big thing for you.
Hmm.
So if they bring it out that the 412 actually coincides with your theory, but it also contradicts something else, would you
Hmm.
be able to accept
Oh, and believe me, I
both
was ready
sides?
because people were saying that the document said 316, right? Remember,
Right,
not too
right,
long ago, and I was ready to say, okay, well, shoot, maybe it's incorrect. But then it hit me.
right.
It's like, well, it could very well as easily be an additional TikTok at 316 that we don't know what the words are. Um, it could, but then when there was an interview after the plea deal, who's the guy that was? He was sitting next to what's his face, and Bill Thompson was there. But he mentions 412. He mentions the TikTok at 412, and I thought, okay, well, there you go. They still obviously believe that Xana's had TikTok activity at 412. And
Right.
I took the HTML code connected with that comment from TikTok. Never forget the foundation in the bathtub. You run it through Unfurl, and it tells you within the accuracy of 30 to 45 seconds what time that happened. And it said 4:12 a.m. And the other one, when she's typed the word just queen,
Yeah.
3:45 a.m. And then I went and I did my own test where I typed in comments. I would type in a comment and then at the time that I hit the enter button, and I'd look at the clock, and right when my clock hit zero, hit enter, and then I'd go back and check that code in the same way to see if it was accurate with my posts. 35 to 40 seconds consistently. That's how accurate that program is.
And that's a lot of work that you're doing to kind of calm your own storm, so to speak, right? That's
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of work. That's a lot of work, Jeff. I mean, that's a lot of work that a lot of people don't do, that haven't done. And I'm not minimizing other people's work or whatever they call it, but you know what? What you're actually doing is putting science to your theory.
Right, you want
So,
to test your own theories. You want to test
right,
them,
right.
and you got to be fine with letting them go if they're obviously wrong. And the thing that I think happens is that elements of things that you believe, it only takes getting a couple of them wrong to take you off path. I think Mark B with the green Elantra and the what he thought was the license plate wrapped around the bottom there. You get just enough incorrect information and intel, and then you're going down a path, and you're just like, here's a perfect example: the story of Chicken Little, right? He's standing
Right.
under a tree,
Right.
an acorn hits his head. He thinks the sky is falling. So he's got misinformation or incorrect information about what happened to his head. And what is he doing? He's going around. It's before YouTube, I guess. He's going around telling the whole neighborhood, the sky is falling. The sky is falling.
Right.
And I'm sure he would probably block and cuss out the Jeff H that comes up and says, "Hey man, you got a bump on your head. Looks like probably from an acorn. Do you live near an acorn tree? Well, yes, I do, but just block him. Get him out of here. Get that Jeff H out of here. Bullshit."
I mean, it's just interesting, and we finally reached a point in the calm and the storm. I believe that we can have rational conversations like this on the channel. We've never, I'm not even going to put disclaimers out there, but anybody that's watched this channel for any length of time, they know what to expect when they come in here. You
Hmm.
know, it's an adult channel. It's an adult channel. That's all I gotta say is, there's not anything that I hide from the viewers. I don't put trigger warnings. I don't do all that because if you can't take what I show, as it being true crime, then maybe this isn't the channel for you. And I've
Right.
always said that. I've always said that. I don't believe in, watering down the product just because the consumer won't be able to stay longer if they're lactose intolerant. So you can't give them the real milk. It's
Right.
like, come on.
It's
That's not
almost like
on
the
me.
same.
That's on you.
It's almost like the same philosophy that people will talk like a child to a child, and you can actually, if you, it's actually if you talk to them like they're older than they are, then they learn, you know, that type of speech. They'll learn, and I think they probably love that. Oh wow, I'm just like you know. Maybe I'm just talking from my personal experience. It's like wow, I feel like I'm the adults are here, but I'm a kid in the room, but they're talking to me, and they're actually
Right. Like an
listening.
adult.
Yeah, they're not just like oh he's just a kid.
Yeah. Man, Jeff, I missed these conversations, bro.
Yeah. Well, we should do more of them. I wish I could get more interested in other cases, but I haven't really gotten pulled in the same way this one did and still does. you know.
I believe that this case was so fascinating to so many because not only the length of time that it took, but the
hmm
lack of information that we were not allowed to see. So it just built up the
Yeah.
mystery of the case. So at that point, it became so big and you became so fascinated from what you didn't know because of the gag order. And then when they
Yeah.
lifted the gag order, all the stuff that you saw, at that point, there was no way that you could make that reality to you because all of a sudden they're releasing this, that they put this under gag. So they must have been trying to hide this from you. And this
Right.
can't be true. So that goes along with where we're at today, I believe. The videos, the photos, everything, because to be honest, some of those photos are nothing more than just a photo.
hmm Right. And many of them.
Yes. And a lot of documents where they're just repetitive.
Yeah.
Repetitive.
Also, too, I love to hear these people. They talk with such strong opinions about like the sheath. Well, we haven't seen the sheath. It's like okay, you haven't seen the sheath yet. So why are you talking the way you're talking about it? Just haven't you learned? You said such bizarre stuff and such crazy theories, and then images came out, the photos came out. Haven't you learned that pattern yet? I mean, it keeps it keeps. And then I think to myself, well, if you learn that too quickly, then you got no show to do. And you got no people to get riled up with the wild theories and opinions and
But hasn't it been like that all along with other cases too? Every time something comes out, you
you mean
don't focus on what comes out. You focus on what's still missing.
like
Because what you
what happened
yeah,
to President Kennedy's brain? Where's his brain?
yeah, we saw the Zapruder film and we saw all that, but that wasn't proof enough that there was a shooter that actually killed him because we didn't see the brain. You're right. Great
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, I think about that with Charlie Kirk. That's so similar. I mean, imagine if that had been a headshot. It would have been very similar, like in the analysis of it all. But I mean, you see, people are talking about they thought he had the little magnet that's on his shirt for the microphone. It looks like it's a Rode brand microphone to me, because Rode uses rectangular magnets. My mic,
Right.
I have a DJI mic. It uses a square magnet, so I can tell the difference. Plus, two, I think I've seen other videos where he's got the magnet on the inside of his shirt, and you can see the mic on the outside, so you can wear it either way. But they're saying that's what fired the shot, and there was the guy with the hand signals off to the side triggered a detonator. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like what did they put in those vaccination shots?
They need to make more Star Wars movies and stuff like that. give these people something to
Right.
fixate their brain on because they're not really grounded in reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're into that science fiction mentality, and they're never going to see something for being what it is until, you know, you could beat them over the head with knowledge and they're still not going to see it
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
people are different, and that's okay. That's okay. People are different. I'm glad we're all different.
Right.
I'm
Right.
glad
No,
you and
for
I are
sure.
not a clone, but we have the same core beliefs in a lot of different areas that make us alike. And that's what people don't understand. That it's not you being a clone of somebody else. Your core beliefs have been founded by somebody from generations and generations and generations. That's why there's so many people that believe the same thing. Doesn't make us sheep, doesn't make us any of that stuff.
Hmm.
It just means that for a long time there was a semblance of society that this is what you conformed in to be a part of society. The
Right.
more you rebel, the more anarchy and everything and chaos you get. And obviously people are okay with that.
And it's very difficult to pretend that you believe the same as somebody else. Can you imagine if like you were the only one that thought the sky was blue and everybody else said it's green, and you're like, all right, I'm just going to have to go along with it, but there would never be a moment where you'd be at peace and you'd be like, somebody would come to you and say, "Hey Jeff, come on. Honestly, tell me how you really feel about the sky." It's like, "Damn it, y'all know it's blue."
But you know what? That's the communist regime right there. It's kind of like in China. You can't even get on Facebook or anything like that.
Hmm.
So
Well,
imagine you having your thought, the sky is blue, and everybody telling you it's green. And you form all this alliance with other people that believe just like you. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to kill you all because you're a threat to our utopian
our green sky.
society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe red sky. We should have made it red for the Chinese and
I
the
mean, and
Russians.
I'm not even a political person, but, common sense tells you that that's been the theory from history. You know what I mean? Like, hey, the perfect race. We want the perfect race. Everybody that doesn't look like we feel the perfect race is, we're going to
Right.
exterminate you.
Right.
I mean, so how many of these other believers would have that mentality? If they could do it, I'm sure some of them say, well, you know what? He ought to just go off himself. What a waste of space. Whatever, blah blah blah. I've never one time said that somebody who doesn't believe or think like me has no reason to be a part of humanity. I have never thought that
Right.
one time. Not one time.
Right.
But there are actual people that are willing to kill and hurt people with that mentality that they don't deserve to be here just because of their thoughts or their opinions.
Right. Now I know not everybody shares this belief system, but my opinion is that every person is of great value to God. Therefore, they should be of great value to me as well, especially because of the way that I believe and the way that I think. So I can't. Yeah, even somebody that's an awful person, saying awful things, being awful to people, there's value because, well, there's hope that that person, back to the subject we started with, rehabilitation, or that even if it's an, as I say very often, the enemy and friend type of scenario, your enemy today can be your friend tomorrow, possibly. Leave the door open to that. It can happen. Now, if there's
Right.
mental illness, that's a whole other situation. And also, too, if they've done some awful quadruple murder, they are a value. They're an amazing human. They have, as I've always said, I'm impressed by the windshield wiper system on a Corvette, but the tear ducts and eyes, the wet automatic wetting of our eyes that just happens, that is far more amazing than a Corvette.
Hmm.
Just that alone. Or bushy eyebrows are pretty amazing. Look at all those hairs and all the way they're going, but so there's value to them, but there's also value to, like, you did something, there's a consequence, and there's a value to carrying
But
out the
you're
consequence.
saying a lot right now, Jeff, and I agree with a lot of what you're saying. But think about if you're going on a spiritual realm, everybody who has killed somebody, even killing somebody, that is not the ultimate sin. It is just the sin, as in committing adultery or saying a curse word or whatever, in the eyes of the Creator. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Humans, we make sins so much worse than they really are in the eyes of our Creator. And, I'm getting spiritual here, but
Hmm.
Koberger's life was already written, just like Ted Bundy, just like Hitler, just like everybody else's. And people believe that these individuals went this way because of this or that. Well, our lives are written. Everything we do, everything we say, every opportunity we get has already been written. Everything is written if you're a believer, you know?
Well, are you saying, that God has already set you out to be like the doubting, or not Thomas, Judas? Judas betrayed Jesus, and you're saying that he knew that would happen from the start, or is it more that God is just such an amazing intellectual brain or thinker? It's just like somebody that sits down at a chessboard and can knows the outcome of the game before it's even started. They just basically know what choices you will make and where you will end up.
I mean, I can't claim to know what God knows, but in the Bible it says that, right? Our lives have already been pre-written, and we do have free will. Hey, Firefly, we do have free will. I'm just saying that I lost my train of thought there.
Well, but what
We
about
do
when?
have free will, but I believe that the free will goes against what our life is already meant to be going towards, because we're going against the belief that we should be guided by an entity, not by our own free will. If that's what I'm trying to say.
But I
I'm
still
not trying
think,
to make it religious either.
no,
I'm
it's
just
interesting. It's an interesting conversation. But I mean, I guess I lean towards that we have choices. You know,
yeah, we
what
do, we do.
I mean, what did Jesus say to he told everybody, whoever's without sin, go ahead and cast the first stone at this woman. But then what did he say to her? He said, "Go and sin no more." So whatever path she was on with sinning, he gave her a choice. There's a path you ought to be on where you're not sinning anymore. Go and sin no more. So I think at that moment she had the choice.
But
What?
if we're going to use Koberger as an example, he was a drug addict, and they teach a lot of spirituality and addiction recovery. Um, this could have been his change of path. He went to college. He went to get educated. He still fought his own demons, right?
Hmm.
He couldn't overcome his own demons. That was his free will. So, did he have to kill those four people that night? Or did he choose to kill those four people?
Yeah, no, I think he chose based on. I mean, your choices, like a kid that
I know I'm
chooses to
getting deep. I
a
know I'm
kid,
getting deep here.
which is fine, I think. But I mean, a
Yeah.
kid that chooses to touch a stove that's hot burns his hand. Now he can do that because he just is unaware and doesn't have the knowledge prior to, and so he's made a bad choice because nobody taught him that. So it's either the stuff you never learned, nobody taught you, somebody should have taught you and they didn't, or you were stubborn and you were just a knucklehead. It's like, okay, I got arrested for robbing a store, got an opportunity to rob another store. Do I do it again? And you do it again, and you do it again. So, I mean, there's good choices, there's bad choices, and there's the path that you end up on. And there's a good path, and there's a bad path. There's a path that leads to a cliff eventually, and you're just over the edge. But
Well, I
you
believe
have to
the
get to them soon enough before they fall over the edge.
I believe the word in this case is premeditated with him, meaning that he made these choices way in advance. There were thoughts, there were behaviors, there were choices that he made leading up to that eventual act, which, since we're talking free will, that was his free will. He chose to kill those people.
Hmm.
He chose, regardless of autism, regardless of whatever the defense wanted to throw out there. He made that choice.
But does
He
make you
made
wonder if he drove through that little neighborhood 5 times, past the Linda Lane camera 5 times. I would love to be like a fly on the wall or a fly in the car to see if he's having any kind of conversation, either verbally or internally, of like,
right,
maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I shouldn't do it. What am I thinking? What am I doing? Where's my life going? I mean, people can get so down and out, and especially when it comes to like, we've talked about the incel theories and stuff. I mean, there's David in the Bible, right? He saw Bathsheba and just had to have her. Sent He had the power to send her husband to the front lines of the battle, knowing he would get
yeah,
killed, so he could have her. I mean, the desire, for sex and for a that kind of thing is a very strong thing. Ties into pornography, ties into all that crap. In essence, sinning, just all this sinning, and when it's and what's the worst thing you can do when you've got problems like that? Be a loner and just be alone with your thoughts. Your thoughts will betray you. I was in an AA meeting once with a guy who had been, struggling, and but he was talking, and I'll never forget what he said. He said, "Man," he said, "I will never sit alone and go into my own head without a flashlight and an Uzi, because my own thoughts are scary and dangerous, and
right,
I need to protect myself from them." And here's Koberger in his little apartment, with a computer, looking at stuff and having the thoughts. I mean, this could be almost any of us. Anybody can go down a path that's you go too far down the wrong path. Man, I wish he just had a friend, just a good friend with some good advice.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
somebody, even the 9/11 pilots that flew the planes into the World Trade Center. I often thought, man, they visiting the country here. They know the day's coming where they're going to get on that plane. Couldn't they have had a neighbor that lived across the hall from them and said, "Hey, man, how you doing? Good to see you." And then they realize, man, these people aren't that bad over here. What am I thinking? Kind of like in Star Wars. Remember the guy at the bar and the Jedi? He's sitting next to Obi-Wan, and
yeah.
he says, "Go and rethink your life." And he's like, I need to go and rethink my life." So, just need
You
to.
know, here's an example on what you're saying, Jeff. You're saying some good stuff, man. You know, I was watching this documentary. It was a short documentary on people in the Golden Gate Bridge about suicides, about people jumping over the Golden Gate Bridge and committing suicide. There's been about 2,000, I think, that have succeeded. And this guy, he lived, and he was telling this story, and he said, of all the people that lived, we did a questionnaire, and they all said the same thing. They were so in despair, and they were so willing to end their lives until they put that both feet over and jumped. And at that moment, they had instant regret,
Mm,
each one of them, and they lived. But that's a perfect example of what you're saying right now. Is
mm.
have you ever had that that situation, and you're so fixated, and the moment that you go forward and you say, wow, why am I doing this?
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense at all?
Yeah, it's almost like you can almost imagine, you got the little angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other, and you start listening to the little devil so much, and the devil's selling you like a good idea. It's a good idea, and then it's like
Right.
right as you jump, the devil's like, "Sucker, gotcha."
Right. I mean, can you imagine being so empty and so dark and in such a dark place as he was saying, and he put both feet over. People were walking past him, not saying a damn word to him, not saying, "Hey, buddy, please get down."
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. And he said, "So I just figured, hey, nobody cares." And he jumped. And he said, "The moment my body left that bridge, the safety of being on the bridge,"
Mm.
he said, "instantly I had regret."
Yeah.
Instantly. It wasn't, halfway down. It wasn't a quarter of the way down. Instant.
Right. Well, what do they say in AA a meeting? They say 5 minutes from the miracle. Like, so
Yeah.
when you've got that urge to do what you've been trying not to do
Hang on.
for so
Yeah, hang
long,
on.
and it's like it could be that just 5 minutes from that moment you're feeling this, it will subside. You'll be okay. Maybe the phone will ring, a friend will call and say, and have a nice conversation, and then you sit back down to go do what you really didn't want to do, but and then you're like, what the hell? It made all the difference. That 5 minutes that I waited, it's like it's not as dark as it seems. That's where I think faith comes in, because or helps. I think. I mean, I don't feel like I've ever. Everybody's got a little something. I don't think I've ever been so far down it. Well, maybe I've been sad. I've cried in a bathtub. I know what it's like to just be so down.
Right. Right.
But I keep in my mind that there's never a time where like God has his back turned, and it forgets. He takes his eye off of me, and then God is like, "Oh shoot, I forgot about Jeff." Almost like when you leave the water boiling on the stove. Oh shoot, I forgot about.
Right. Right.
Oh man, he's in a mess. That never happens. That never happens.
Jeff drowning. Let me pull him out of the water. I told you not to go there.
Right, right.
I mean, you know, I don't put blame on anybody. There's been people that blamed the instructor, that made those comments after the fact, that said, sent the email that said, we give him a PhD, he's going to be a serial rapist, blah, blah, blah. I don't blame any of those people, because they could have reached out to him, but who's to say he was reachable?
Right.
You have to be teachable in order to be taught. If you think you know everything, nobody's going to be able to get through to you.
Right, right. Well,
You
think
does
about that Asian girl that liked him.
Right.
I mean that. If his issue was that he really wanted a woman, wanted girlfriend, didn't he make some comment to some guy? He's like trying to, it's one of those things where you're bragging, but it's really revealing how pathetic you are. When he's like, "Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
could get any woman, I could get
I
any
could get any
girlfriend."
woman I want. Yeah.
Yeah, it's completely untrue, but
Show us, Brian. I hold my beer. Hold my beer.
but what you're saying is true. Like the people that said, beware of him. He's, if he gets a PhD, he's going to be trouble. People can see a problem. There's very few that will step in and say, I'm going to go talk to him. I'm going to try and be his friend. I'm going to be available to him. I mean, I used to go talk to homeless people when I'd sit every morning with my Dunkin' Donuts coffee, and I'd sit on a wall. I'd say a prayer to God, just like, bless my food and bless my day. And also, if there's anybody that you want me to talk to, anybody that, needs something that I can be. Basically, I tried to picture myself like a tool in God's toolbox. Like, say you pick a hammer out of a toolbox. Can you imagine if you went to the toolbox? I need a screwdriver. Pull the screwdriver. And the screwdriver argues, "I don't feel like doing it. I don't want to do it. I ain't going to do it. I ain't going to help you. I ain't going to be your tool." I'd be like, God, let me, if that can be used for your purposes, I'm here. What is it? Oh, here am I, Lord. Right?
Here
And
mine, yeah.
people would come and sit next to me. There was one guy, he had been stabbed in the park, sleeping in the park the night before. He still had the hospital bracelet on his wrist, and he said they robbed him. And then he pulled out his this little telescope that he had in a box that was made of like brass, And he said, well, yeah, they stabbed me, they robbed me, took everything I had, but at least they didn't get this. This was a gift from like an uncle or a relative of his. He said this was like my only cherished possession. And it's like, and he lifted his shirt, showed me like the wound.
Wow.
I mean, and then there was another homeless guy who was wanting to do harm to some woman that worked at this Hallmark card store because she said something got made them take his dog away because he's a homeless guy. She complained, homeless guy can't take care of a dog. And here he's talking to me. I'm just trying to walk to work. And he's like, "Yeah, I know where she works. I know what time she gets off." And I'm like, I can't just leave this situation alone. Some people say
Right.
that, like the professors. Yeah, gotta beware of this. This could turn bad. Oh, I'm too busy. I gotta go shopping. I can't be a part of it. No, I'm right there talking to him. So I know I was gonna be late for work, but I just kept on talking to him. Before you knew it, he's recalling because I was always in my Bible. I was much more going to church a whole lot more back then, and I felt very inspired just listening to him, talking to him. But it was him. He recalled when he was a kid and studying Samuel in the Bible. Sam Samuel got revenge on his enemies, and he's saying I could get Samuel got revenge on his enemies by pushing the column out, causing the roof to fall down on all his enemies. I think he even knew the story better than I did. 'Cause I wasn't even aware of it. But then he said, but Samuel got revenge on his enemies, but he also was crushed in that. So he lost his life too. And I saw
Right.
I saw him talk himself out of doing harm to this woman based on the story of Samuel. And I think I even gave him a hug, and people probably wondering like, what the hell? This guy's got a long trench coat. He's wearing like one of those old style German helmets. He's a wild looking character. But I'm telling you, back in those days, I felt like I felt so close to God. I felt like this guy is scary looking, but I don't see him that way, and I see him as a creation of God. And I think God wants me to, I just, like I said a prayer, all the time. Use me. What do you need me for today?
And that's one of the reasons why I even started the channel. I didn't, I, I started a channel for multitudes of reasons, but I started the channel more to be an inspiration
Mm-hmm.
to people. And I got caught up all in the BS of it all in the YouTube drama, all that stuff. I have a lot of regrets on that aspect. But I started my channel to help people, to be a voice on here that if somebody is up right now at 1:24 in the morning and they see, oh, this 12 gauge guy's on, let me see what he's talking about. And we're talking about hope, and we're talking about faith, and we're talking about hanging in there,
Mm-hmm.
and find somebody who can give you the tools, to keep on going, to give you that one, hey buddy, it's not that bad, it's going to get better,
Right.
or you're not a failure, you're okay, you're all right, you made a mistake,
Yeah. Yeah.
instead of saying, well, you know what, they don't believe like me, so therefore they get what they get. And I've said that about Brian, but I've said it in a context not that I'm judging him or condemning him, because he already did those things to himself.
Mm-hmm.
I have no place in that. I'm merely just trying to find, just like everybody else, different ways of how he was missed through all this time being in that area. Nobody noticed him.
Right.
Maybe that was his MO, is if I stay low key when I commit this crime, nobody's going to know it's me because nobody notices me anyways.
He should have got a YouTube channel because I'll tell you what, or at least gone on panels. I mean, I've always been kind of a quiet, shy, introverted person, and there's something about doing this on YouTube that really is. You start to think, wow, I always thought like people said you ain't got anything worthy to say. Your ideas are stupid, which
Right,
is kind of the childish attitude it gets to in some of these chat rooms when you go into the
right,
opposite side. They'll resort to that. But yeah, just a little dose of personal confidence, of personal hope that things will work out okay, even if they look dark, you know. But and I can think of
But
people.
how
I can
do
think of people that are inspirational. You're one of them. My pastor that I haven't talked to in a long time that I need to give a phone call to. People at the church, old bosses, current bosses.
do you
Yeah,
think he had regret? That's why he went back at 9 o'clock. You think that feeling of regret, or do you think he was really gloating about it? I mean, I know the thumbs up picture, I know all that stuff, and I'm not trying to defend Brian, but I don't believe, unless he just evil as shit and unable to deem reality from distorted thinking, everybody has that moment of clarity when they
hmm
mess up. Do you
I don't know.
believe he
No,
had that?
I
Do
mean,
you believe he had that moment?
I think it would have been more of why am I not seeing anything on the news? I did a. It's almost like if I was in a big band and we played a show, and then you look at the newspaper, newspaper, dating myself. You
Yeah.
look at the internet and there's nothing. Nobody's saying anything about it. I'm gonna have to go check on what's going on. What's wrong with the, you know,
Right.
or just you ever see that little meme where there's that house on fire and there's that little girl with the evil look and she's looking at like there's that desire like maybe he doesn't want to just hear about what it was like with all the police cars and all the investigators.
Okay.
He kind of wants a glimpse of it, you know, just the and somebody was talking about it just today. Somebody commented, it's like, well, if he went there, they would have seen him on camera. It's like, well, but if he only went as far as like the top of the hill at Walenta, where that house that's on the hill where you can see down into where the murder house was, that's all he had to do. I don't imagine he would want to go much closer than that. He would probably be smart enough to know that they're going to probably cordon off the whole neighborhood and be checking.
Yeah.
You would think so.
Yeah. Surely he didn't go back in the house. I have never thought that he would have been
No.
brazen enough to go back into that house, no matter what he thought. I mean, if he could have walked around where he parked the car to see if he dropped it around that area, but I don't think he walked back into the house. I
No.
think he
Yeah, I
would have
don't
been
either.
searching like around the parking lot. Like there are stairs that go down there. He could have parked anywhere. He was a jogger.
Yeah.
And I hate doing that, giving him the attribute to be able to be superhuman. People do that all the time on YouTube. Well, he was a jogger, so therefore he must have been in shape. But then when I see him in the Albertson video, he looks like an 86-year-old man hunched over that can barely walk to the store.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? It's like, well, he was muscular, but he was this, he was that, he was this. But then him walking through the store, it's like waddling almost. You
hmm
get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I believe Brian had enough physical attributes to get where he needed to go. I'm going to say it like that. If he needed to go somewhere, then he had enough physical attributes. Whether he looked the most fluid doing it, that's neither here nor there. I believe that he could have made his way down there looking, see if he dropped a sheath in the brush, wherever, and then couldn't find it and left.
Yeah. Well, I think you take anybody in any kind of shape or whatever they're in, and you have them filled with rage,
Yeah,
and they are doing something that they probably thought they themselves wouldn't be able to do. But also too, if he
yeah,
was such a great runner, he could have parked his car, further away and ran to it. But
yeah,
you can tell that um, it sure seems like the thing on his mind was like, just get out of here as fast as you can right away, speeding off. I mean, he was booking up Walenta Hill. I mean, you can hear
right.
his foot's all the way down on the gas, I think, and pushing that little Elantra as fast as it can go to get away. And talk about a semi-admission of guilt again. you know, that's a guilty person driving like that, unless it's you know again, keep an open mind. If it wasn't him, and it wasn't that wasn't that what that car was. That other explanations are like they just robbed a bank or they're very late for work. but it is notable to be driving that fast away from something at
Right.
4:20 in the morning. There is nobody on the road out there. You don't need to be, you know. So
I mean, there's a lot of things that are cut and dry. There's a lot of things that have a lot of mystery if you look at it through a specific eyeball. I mean, if you're looking at it a certain way, you're gonna get what you're desiring. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
at this point, like Firefly said, or somebody said earlier, I think it was Mountain Mama, really. She said, "Do you think you really that is? Do you think that it's still worth it to him? He is sitting in a cell every day, watching TV through a iron gate, no bathroom privacy, infrequent showers, and worst of all, no of change." That's a big statement right there because she's right. Do we really? I mean, I believe it means more to us than it means to him. After all, we're on this podcast right now, and 2 hours and 30 minutes into it, and we're still talking about the man.
right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, if you think about it and compare it to like musicians, and they're on top, they're popular, they're number one, and then over time, I mean, Guns N' Roses is still good, but they not quite what they used to be. His
I
his,
don't
his
compare him to Swift or Taylor Swift. Okay, I'm not a Swiftie. I'm sorry.
but his fame seems like it's still quite strong, and I think he understands at the moment he explains what he did, how he did it, why he did it, then it's going to fade away. It's like, okay, now we know the end of the story. Okay, now I guess we'll be moving on. This was fun. Bye. Um, but yeah, as long as there's unknowns left, he realizes it's just going to be talked about and talked about and talked about. Probably the way he probably looked at into the questions about serial killers. Wanting to know more, and wanting to figure out the mysteries of it all.
Right. Well, I think this is a good stopping point, Jeff. I appreciate you being on panel, man. That's always a good time.
Yeah,
Always a
yeah.
good conversation. If
Never
we're able
never
to do it
fails.
tomorrow, if we're not, no big deal to me. We'll get to it eventually, probably.
Sounds good.
But, thank you for the guitar lessons earlier. I will be practicing. Hopefully, it'll be a little better by next time.
Yeah.
Those of you that spent the evening with us, listening to us go over, the photos and everything that we've been talking about, obviously, if it doesn't apply to you, let it fly. I don't try to push my opinions off on anybody. I don't try to push religion or politics or anything. But that doesn't mean that we don't talk about it. You know,
Right. Right.
you don't have to agree in order to have a conversation. That's what I'm saying. It's
Right.
okay to disagree, and you can still be respectful. Jeff and I didn't always see eye to eye at the very beginning.
Right. Right.
I thought after a couple conversations, I was like, why did I want to talk to this guy? I'm serious. I was like, I would say something, you'd rebuttal it right away. I'd be like, that's not what I meant at all. And I'm like, you know what? I'm either gonna live with this and learn how this guy thinks and how he articulates information, whether he needs more information, simplified, whatever, or I'm just not even going to bother with him. And you can see he's still around. So I made the change because I knew that Jeff is who Jeff is.
To quote Michael Jackson, make that change.
Yeah. Thank you so much,
So,
Mount
all
Mama.
right. I'm going to sign off. My pillow is calling. I'm going to run to it. I'm going to be heading
All
to
right,
my
bro.
pillow like Brian was up Valenta Hill. Pedal to the metal.
All right. Have a good one, Jeff.
All right,
Talk
you
to you
too.
soon. Bye
All right.
bye. Thank y'all so much for spending the evening. Like I said, you could have been doing a million other things, but you chose to be here. Please hit the like button, subscribe, and share um, if you're still in here and you haven't. If you're watching this on replay, please be kind. Please, if you get to this point of the video, do understand that this is merely our opinions on this is my show, so this is my opinions, and the guests that I have on here are their opinions. If you don't care for my guests, well, that's fine. If you don't care for me, that's fine. But thank you for at least giving the video a chance. And that's all I have to say. Y'all stay safe out there and always watch your six. Have a good night, everyone. Maestro, cue that music.